Sword Saint Meng had little care about the greater good of mankind, or anything of the sort. What really mattered to her was just those whom she cared about. And if anyone dared to hurt her precious child, she would pit her life against that person. The reason she had eventually relented was due to those words reassuring her. As a mother, it was inevitable that she would bear great ambitions for her child's future. With Yang Shi volunteering to assist in the process, and her husband reassuring all of her fears, she had eventually caved in. Otherwise, given her strength, no matter how powerful Hu Yiwei was, there was no way he could possibly have planted the innate fetal poison in her successfully. Knowing how difficult it would have been for his mother to make such a decision back then, Zhang Xian sighed deeply within. Shaking his head, he turned his gaze back to Yang Shi and said, I still don't really get how infusing the Zhang clan bloodline back into my body would allow me to use its abilities easily. Pardon me, it seems like I have accidentally strayed off topic. As you used to possess the purest Zhang clan bloodline, you still wield the innate ability to activate the Zhang clan bloodline. As long as you have sufficient blood essence of the Zhang clan bloodline, you will be able to use its bloodline ability without burning your own bloodline. Naturally, that means that there won't be the 1-month downtime for you after activating the bloodline ability. Yang Shi explained. While activating the unique bloodline would grant one a temporary surge of power, it would also severely deplete one's vitality and jinqi afterward, resulting in a month's downtime afterward. However, those who had once had their bloodline torn out would not face such a limitation, as they would be using the bloodline of others. As long as they had sufficient blood essence on hand, they could raise their cultivation freely. This, Zhang Xian's eyes lit up in agitation. If that was really true, this could become another major trump card of his. It's too early for you to get happy. Your bloodline previously was simply too pure, such that there's hardly anyone in the clan who has bloodline that can match yours. After gathering all the blood essence that we could within the clan, and refining it again and again in order to raise its purity, we only managed to squeeze out 3 droplets. Even if there isn't any downtime afterward, you must make sure to use them sparingly, Sword Saint Xing said as he flicked his hand, and a jade bottle flew over. I understand. Holding the jade bottle tightly in his hand, Zhang Xian could feel the rich power harnessed within the 3 blood droplets inside. Without a doubt, Zhang clan must have paid a heavy price in order to refine these 3 droplets. He was about to thank Sword Saint Xing when a thought suddenly struck him. The Pavilion Master Seal had also been created through 3 droplets of Kong Shi's blood, and by assimilating them into his body, he would be able to temporarily wield power invincible against those beneath ancient sage. Was this not identical to the situation with the blood droplets from the Zhang clan? Could it be that Kong Shi had some kind of unique bloodline, and the prerequisite to activating the bloodline was being a celestial master teacher? Zhang Xian nodded. That does seem likely to be the case. It was no wonder no one had been able to truly tame the Pavilion Master Seal in the tens of thousands of years since Kong Shi had left the Master Teacher continent. Limited by their constitution, it was already formidable that they could wield 1/10 of its power. It's said that one must collate all 6 celestial amulets of legacy in order to enter the Temple of Confucius. May I know how many of them we have at the moment? Zhang Xian suddenly asked. Back then, the Qingtian Emperor had paid a heavy price to sneak onto the Master Teacher continent in order to find one of the celestial amulets of legacy. But even after searching for countless years, his efforts had still been rendered futile. Zhang Xian could not help wondering how many of them the Master Teacher Pavilion had found to date. Of the 6 celestial amulets of legacy, the Master Teacher Pavilion headquarters has 1, the Zhang clan has 1, and the Luo clan has 1. As for the remaining 3, some say that Kong Shi sealed them beneath some mountain in the world, and others say that they were taken away by the 100 schools of philosophers. In any case, even with the influence of the Master Teacher Pavilion headquarters, I'm afraid that their whereabouts still remain a mystery to date. Yang Shi shook his head. 100 schools of philosophers. Zhang Xian frowned doubtfully. He had heard of the 3 premier clans and the 5 elements sage clans. But what was the 100 schools of philosophers? Kong Shi took in 3,000 students and 72 direct disciples. And these 72 direct disciples were all ancient sage experts. Yang Shi said. They were all ancient sages? Zhang Xian's breathing hastened in agitation. For all 72 direct disciples of his to be ancient sages. Just how powerful was mankind back then? It was no wonder that the otherworldly demonic tribe was so frightened of Kong Shi, apprehensive of the rise of another celestial master teacher among mankind even after so many years. If another 72 ancient sages emerged among mankind, the tables could very well be turned. The reputation of the world's teacher was indeed not baseless. They have been conferred with the title of philosophers, and their descendants are collectively known as the 100 schools of philosophers. They disappeared soon after Kong Shi disappeared from the world, which led to the rise of the Zhang clan, and the Luo clan shortly after. Otherwise, if the 100 schools of philosophers were still around, even the Master-Teacher Pavilion headquarters would have to defer to them. Yang Shi swiftly explained one of the ancient secrets of the history of mankind. Zhang Xian jolted in astonishment. Are the 100 schools of philosophers actually that powerful? While the Master-Teacher Pavilion headquarters did suffer a setback due to him this time around, he knew full well that the waters ran far deeper in the Master-Teacher Pavilion than what he was seeing. If their conflict had worsened, even with Zheng Yang, Wei Ruyan, and even the Zhang clan on his side, he still would not have stood a chance against the Master-Teacher Pavilion. Without such strength, how could the Master-Teacher Pavilion go unchallenged for the past tens of thousands of years? It was precisely out of deference for their strength that even the top experts of the continent were apprehensive of provoking them. For one, no one knew exactly how many hibernating ancient sages there were in the Master-Teacher Pavilion headquarters. And despite the Master-Teacher Pavilion's prowess, it was still afraid of the 100 schools of philosophers? They are the descendants of Kong Shi's direct disciples. Other than their powerful bloodline, they also have the complete heritage of their predecessors. Given so, it might be difficult for the Master-Teacher Pavilion to match them. Yang Shi shook his head. However, they disappeared from the Master-Teacher continent many years ago, so it's unlikely for them to appear once more. Thus, there's no need to worry about them. Zhang Xian nodded in response. Since they had disappeared just like Kong Shi, there should be no need to worry about them. He pondered for a moment before asking once more. If the 3 remaining celestial amulets of legacy are missing, how do we enter the Temple of Confucius? Given that they had not even gathered all of the celestial amulets of legacy yet, were they not jumping ahead of themselves to push forward a marriage between the Zhang clan and the Luo clan at this point in time? Typically speaking, it's indeed true that it would be impossible for one to enter the Temple of Confucius without gathering all 6 celestial amulets of legacy. However, through years of research, the Master-Teacher Pavilion has managed to find a way to circumvent that requirement. Back then, Kong Shi acquired the blood essences of 6 unique bloodlines in order to forge the 6 celestial amulets of legacy. So even if we fail to find the 3 remaining amulets, we can substitute them with the 3 fully awakened unique constitutions. Yang Shi said while stroking his beard. Unique constitutions? Could the purine body be one of those unique constitutions? Zhang Xian widened his eyes in realization. Indeed, the purine body is one of the unique constitutions. Other than that, there's also the Poison Hall's innate poison body, the Yuan clan's emperor's bloodline, the Shui clan's true water constitution. As long as these unique constitutions are fully awakened, they can be used to substitute the amulets. Yang Shi replied with a nod. That's also the reason Yu Ruoxin was in such a rush to awaken Zhao Ye's unique constitution. As long as she succeeded, the Glacier Plain Court would have been able to enter the Temple of Confucius. The Temple of Confucius houses Kong Shi's heritage, and the treasures and secret manuals found there will be unmatched by anything currently on the Master-Teacher continent. Without a doubt, the exploration of the Temple of Confucius will change the power dynamics on the Master-Teacher continent, and the powers who fail to enter the Temple of Confucius will find themselves swiftly falling behind those who do. And if by any chance, the heritage falls into the hands of the otherworldly demonic tribe, it could very well spell the end of mankind. there was a good chance that the solution to achieving a breakthrough to ancient sage would be found in the Temple of Confucius as well. And that would be a turning point for many powers in the world. Who would be willing to give up on this opportunity? Do you still have any doubts in mind? Yang Shi asked. None at the moment, Zhang Xian replied with a shake of his head. For the time being, that was all he was perplexed about, and after Yang Shi's explanation, he had gained a good grasp of the situation. It was no wonder the Luo clan was so adamant about marrying Luo Ruoxin to the young prodigy of the Zhang clan. Considering that the Temple of Confucius was involved in this matter as well, her will alone would not be enough to change their mind. All right then, I'll be taking a rest for a moment. Seeing that Zhang Xian did not have any more doubts, Yang Shi sat down and closed his eyes, and Zhang Xian got to reinforcing his cultivation as well. 3 days passed in a flash. When morning came, as soon as the brilliant sun rose from the horizon, a massive city came into sight beneath the group. Sword Saint Xing walked over to the windows and exclaimed, "That's the Luo clan's shrouding ethereal city. We have finally arrived at our destination." Shrouding ethereal city? Zhang Xian lowered his head and saw that the city below seemed to be hiding beneath an illusory space. The city was situated in the midst of a mountain range, shrouded by endless clouds, reminiscent of a labyrinth. Without knowing the way beforehand, it would be nigh impossible to find the shrouding ethereal city. What a formidable formation! Zhang Xian exclaimed. Similar to the Zhang clan's guardian formation, it's intended to protect the Luo clan in times of emergency. It harnesses the law of space, distorting one's sense of direction, and thus entrapping one. Of course, this formation can't hope to keep us out. Sword Saint Xing chuckled as he flicked his wrist, and a mirror appeared before Zhang Xian. Looking through the mirror, one could clearly see the correct pathway to navigate through the formation. The formation was constantly changing, making it impossible for one to determine any fixed pattern to it. To be able to discern the correct pathway with just a glance, it seemed like his father was quite a skilled formation master. Is it our guests from the Zhang clan ahead? After advancing a while longer, a hearty chuckle suddenly echoed from the distance, followed by the appearance of several figures. The person standing at the forefront was the first elder of the Luo clan, Luo Qingchen. Indeed, Sword Saint Xing flew out of the room and greeted the elders of the Luo clan, and Zhang Xian and the others quickly followed suit. We have been waiting for your arrival. Our Luo clan has already prepared accommodations for you all, so do quickly come in. Luo Qingchen greeted with a smile as he led the way forward. The convoy of saint beasts from the Zhang clan quickly followed behind Luo Qingchen to enter the city. The accommodation that the Luo clan had prepared was a massive manor, vast and spacious. Even with 40 saint beasts landing in the courtyard, it did not appear to be cramped in the least. After settling the crowd from the Zhang clan into their accommodation, Luo Qingchen said with a warm smile, "I'll require some time to gather all of the elders and grand elders who have gone into seclusion. So let's discuss the details of the marriage tomorrow. The matrimony between our clans is a huge matter for the master-teacher continent, so we have to ensure that everything proceeds smoothly." Indeed, First Elder, this matter must be handled with the utmost care. Sword Saint Xing nodded politely in response. All right, I shan't impose on you all anymore. Please do have a good rest, and I'll see you tomorrow. Luo Qingchen clasped his fist and bade farewell. Before taking his leave, he instructed an elder to properly attend to the needs of the Zhang clan. So this is Luo Ruoxin's clan? The layout of the guest rooms was particularly exquisite. All sorts of formations came together to form a massive spirit-gathering formation, artificially creating what could be considered a blessed land to a cultivator. Strolling around the massive manor, Zhang Xian could hardly curb the excitement in his heart. He had seen many beautiful ladies, and there were also a couple of them who harbored romantic feelings for him. However, there was only one who had truly moved his heart. As if a fine wine, his feelings for her only seemed to deepen with time. It was as if he was already intoxicated with her entire being, such that losing her was no longer something that he could imagine. Seeing her son walking impatiently around the manor, Sword Saint Ming walked up to him and teased. What? Can't you even wait till tomorrow? Her son was someone who could remain perfectly calm, even while he was surrounded by the experts of the Master-Teacher Pavilion headquarters. Yet at that moment, he was wandering around aimlessly. There was no way she would be so dense as to be unable to see through her son's thoughts. How could that be? I'm just taking a look around. Having his thoughts exposed, Zhang Xian's face reddened in embarrassment. The marriage between the both of you will surely go through, so there's no need to worry about that. Besides, even if this engagement didn't exist, as long as it's a girl you fancy, I'd help you snatch her. Imagining the sight of his mother kidnapping Luo Ruoxin, a slight chuckle escaped from Zhang Xian's lips. Given his mother personality, there was really a chance that she could pull something like that off. Just as he was about to speak, the Luo clan elder who was in charge of taking care of their needs suddenly walked up and reported, "Clan head Zhang, young master Xianqing hopes to meet you. Bring me over." Hearing that Luo Xianqing was in the Luo clan as well, Zhang Xian's eyes lit up. He had thought that the other party would still be in the Sanctum of Sages, but who could have thought that he would have already returned? But thinking about it, given that his younger sister was going to be married, there was no way that he would obediently remain in the Sanctum of Sages. Given what a sister-doting monster he was, he would surely rush back to the Luo clan in the fastest time possible. Following behind the Luo clan elder, they soon arrived in the main hall. Luo Xianqing was seated with a teacup in his hand, deep in thought. Upon seeing Zhang Xian, he quickly stood up, clasped his fist and bowed. Luo Xianqing pays respect to clan head Zhang. "Brother Luo, you're too courteous." Seeing how formal Luo Xianqing was with him, Zhang Xian quickly walked forward to help him up. Luo Xianqing raised his head to look at the young man before him once more, and he could not help but exclaim internally how swiftly things had changed. When they first met, the young man had just been an ordinary student in the Sanctum of Sages. It was only because he had found the young man's temperament to his liking that he had befriended the young man. When he found out that the young man had duped his younger sister of her feelings, he had flown into a rage, wanting to pummel him to death. But before he knew it, the young man had transformed into the young prodigy of the Zhang clan, the fiancé of his younger sister. Not only so, he had also become the head of the Sanctum of Sages, and every single one of his students was unimaginably powerful. No matter how many times he verified the news, he still found the matter hard to believe. Initially, when his younger sister told him that the fellow from the remote Hongyuan Empire was actually a remarkable genius, he had snorted in disdain, thinking that his younger sister was blinded by her feelings for the other party. However, from the looks of it now, the one who was truly blind was him. While Luo Xianqing was still deep in thought, he suddenly noticed the anomaly in the young man's cultivation, and he widened his eyes in astonishment. "Your cultivation? You have already reached Dimension Sundering Realm Pinnacle?" Just a few days ago, when he pummeled Zhang Xian, the young man had only been at Phantasmal Space Realm Pinnacle. Yet, within this short period of time, the young man had already reached Dimension Sundering Realm Pinnacle. While he had never expressed it before others, the truth was that he took great pride at having reached Dimension Sundering Realm Primary Stage despite his young age. Yet, it was as if achieving breakthroughs came as easily to the young man as eating or drinking. Did the young man really have to be so exaggerated? "Ah, it was a stroke of luck," Zhang Xian replied with a smile. "A stroke of luck?" Luo Xianqing felt so stifled that he thought that he would suffer grievous internal injuries from talking with the young man at this rate. Each time he asked about the young man's cultivation, the latter would simply perfunctorily attribute it to luck. "Even though we all know that you are just making up an excuse, surely you can be more sincere than that. Would it kill you to think of a different line?" Luo Xianqing took in a deep breath and asked, "Clan head Zhang, may I have the honor of sparring with you?" Back when he first met the young man had only been a Saint 5 Dan minor figure, not even worthy of his attention. Within just 2 to 3 months, the young man had already surpassed him. While he knew that the young man was an incredibly talented individual, there was no one in the world who would dare underestimate the young prodigy of the Zhang clan. He was still unable to accept this reality. "Sure." Zhang Xian nodded. He was also itching to try his hand, since he had just made a breakthrough. Since Luo Xianqing had challenged him to a spar, there was no reason for him to turn him down. Let's begin then. Without any hesitation, Luo Xianqing forcefully pushed against the ground and dashed forth, reaching Zhang Xian in the blink of an eye. He raised his hand and thrust his palm down upon the latter forcefully. Voila! Along with the movement of his palm, the surrounding space grew viscous, creating great inertia to any movement made in the area. While Zhang Xian had been pushing ahead, Luo Xianqing had not been slacking either. Through his diligence, he had also made considerable advancements in his fighting prowess. Come! With a chuckle, Zhang Xian drove his junqi as he raised his palm to clash against Luo Xianqing's offense. But all of a sudden his hand froze in midair. Seeing the young man's abrupt halt in actions, Luo Xianqing retracted his palm strike and harumphed coldly. What's wrong? Are you intending to go easy on me just because you think I'm no match for you? If you still think of me as a brother, use your full strength. He knew that it was unlikely for him to be a match for Zhang Xian, and he was prepared to accept his loss. However, his pride would not allow the latter to take pity and go easy on him. No, that's not it. Zhang Xian raised his hand to stop Luo Xianqing, as his lips twitched frenziedly. I accidentally exerted too much force earlier. I think I am going to achieve a breakthrough soon. Hung long long. Before Zhang Xian could finish his words, the entire sky darkened. Storm clouds converged above the area, and flashes of lightning streaked furiously across the sky. Zhang Xian's macrocosm ascendancy ordeal had come. Back when Zhang Xian was still at the Zhang clan, he had already reached the peak of the dimension-sundering realm, ready to push for a breakthrough to the macrocosm ascendancy realm at any moment. However, he feared the massive destruction that might come as a result of the lightning tribulation, so he had forcefully suppressed his cultivation. However, earlier, as he was sparring with Luo Xianqing, he had accidentally pushed his junqi a little too far, overcoming the bottleneck of the dimension-sundering realm, causing his cultivation to begin advancing right for Saint Nine Dan macrocosm ascendancy realm. You can achieve a breakthrough just like that. Looking at the ominous clouds gathering all around and sensing the energy raging within the young man's body, Luo Xianqing nearly fainted on the spot. Weren't you still at dimension-sundering realm pinnacle a moment ago? How in the world did you manage to make a breakthrough to the macrocosm ascendancy realm just by driving your junqi? Luo Xianqing nearly spurted blood from frustration. It was with the thought that Zhang Xian's cultivation might not be too stable due to his swift breakthroughs that he had dared challenge the young man to a duel. Yet, before the duel could even start, the young man had already achieved another breakthrough. In comparison, his rate of cultivation was as slow as a tortoise. No, more like a crawling snail. With such a contrast between the two of them, he no longer dared identify himself as a prodigy before others. Hung long long. As Luo Xianqing was still grumbling gloomily over the matter, the storm clouds in the sky were swiftly growing bigger and bigger, cloaking everything in their shadow. Before one knew it, the clouds already spanned tens of thousands of mu. Luo Xianqing gulped in fright as he turned his trembling body toward Zhang Xian and asked, Zhang Xian, are you here to ask for my younger sister's hand in marriage, or to tear our Luo clan down? The young man's macrocosm ascendancy ordeal was simply too powerful. If it really fell, no matter how powerful the Luo clan's formations were, the formations would not stand a chance against it. Aren't you here to propose a marriage? But what you are bringing in over here could very well wipe out the entire Luo clan. I didn't do it on purpose. Should I try suppressing my cultivation? Zhang Xian exclaimed with a reddened face, showing a rare sign of panic. He had been suppressing his cultivation all this while, intending to find a quiet place to push for a breakthrough once everything had been settled. Who could have thought that he would make a mistake at this crucial moment and achieve a breakthrough? This wasn't what he had intended at all. Suppress your cultivation? Your cultivation ordeal is already right above you. Do you think suppressing your cultivation right now will work? Luo Xianqing roared furiously. Are you messing with me? Do you think that the cultivation ordeal will obediently disperse just because you have suppressed your cultivation back down? What you should be thinking of right now is how you can overcome this ridiculously powerful lightning tribulation. Even Saint Nine Dan experts wouldn't stand a chance against a lightning tribulation of this level. Are you really not frightened at all? Why, you're right. I have to scare the lightning tribulation away. But, Zhang Xian frowned in distress as he spoke. I don't think I'll be able to do it right now. His soul cultivation had already reached Saint Nine Dan pinnacle, and he had not compiled the Saint Nine Dan Heaven's Path divine art to further his Jinshi cultivation yet. On top of that, he had just cultivated his physical body a few days ago. What was he supposed to do with the massive pool of spiritual energy in the air? He would explode if he absorbed all of that. You won't be able to do it right now? What do you mean by that? Don't you have some kind of means to chase the lightning tribulation away? Luo Xianqing urged anxiously, since his dimension-sundering ordeal had been chased away by the young man before him. Surely the young man should be able to do the same for his own macrocosm ascendancy ordeal. I'll just say this clearly to you right here and right now. If you fail to chase away the lightning tribulation, and it falls on the shrouding ethereal city, don't even dream of our Luo clan forgiving you. It goes without saying that your engagement with my younger sister will be over as well. Luo Xianqing spat in fury. This, Zhang Xian was really on the verge of tears. Why did he have to achieve a breakthrough now of all times? He had already raised all of his cultivations as far as he could, so there was nothing he would require spiritual energy for at the moment. And without absorbing the energy of the lightning tribulation, how was he supposed to scare it away? Wait a moment, perhaps I could try that. Knowing that the lightning would fall at any moment, and there was no time to be wasted, Zhang Xian clenched his jaw and leaped into the air. He swiftly assumed a cold and forbidding appearance as he placed his arms behind his back, facing the lightning tribulation before him fearlessly. How can Xianer's macrocosm ascendancy ordeal be so powerful? Dear, rest assured, our son has managed to drive away several lightning tribulations in the past, so he should be able to do it easily this time around. This is a good opportunity to see what he's capable of. Yes, I have also heard the rumors as well. If I recall correctly, our son dove into the storm clouds, and before long, the storm clouds trembled uncontrollably before eventually dissipating. In the courtyard, the attention of the Xingming Sword Saints was captured by the unbelievably massive lightning tribulation in the air as well. However, recalling the previous deeds of their son, they reassured themselves and heaved sighs of relief. Their son had simply produced too many miracles, especially when it came to dealing with lightning tribulations. The legends that he had created were something that would eventually go down in the annals of the master-teacher continent's history, never to be forgotten even after many generations. As powerful as the macrocosm ascendancy ordeal before them was, he should be able to resolve it with ease. Look, he's flying into the air. He should be diving into the storm clouds very soon. Sword Saint Xing exclaimed excitedly. The first elder of the Luo clan, Luo Qingchen, turned to the elders behind him and instructed, "This is truly a rare sight. Make sure to watch it closely. If we can figure out the secrets behind Zhang Xian's technique, our Luo clan offspring won't have to worry about their cultivation ordeals when they achieve a breakthrough anymore." Yes, the many elders of the Luo clan nodded in agreement. Luo Qingchen had witnessed with his own eyes how the young man helped Luo Xianqing drive away his dimension-sundering ordeal. But back then, he had been unable to make sense of how it had been done. Since he had the privilege to witness it once more, he would really have to observe it closely. If they could learn the young man's secret art, the offspring of their Luo clan would not need to fear lightning tribulations anymore. Bring the dimension mirror over. I want this scene to be perfectly recorded. Luo Qingchen instructed once more. Even if we fail to make sense out of it now, we can slowly examine it later on. As long as we study it long enough, it will only be a matter of time before we uncover his secrets. As a 9-star master teacher himself, Luo Qingchen's eye of discernment was not to be underestimated. Yet, even an expert of his caliber was unable to figure out how Zhang Xian had managed to drive away Luo Xuanqing's lightning tribulation back then. Thus, there was a good chance that they would not be able to figure it out easily even with most elders of the Luo clan present here. Just to be safe, It would be best for them to record this sight, so that they could refer to it again and again in the future. That's a good idea. An elder swiftly flew away, and it did not take him long to return with a massive mirror in hand. It was one of the mystical artifacts from the Luo clan's treasure vault, the Dimension Mirror. It could be used to record anything that it saw. He's going to dash into the lightning tribulation. Right after the elders had finished preparing the mirror, Luo Qingqian's excited exclamation sounded in the air. Turning their gazes over, the elders saw the young man rising into the air, stopping right beneath the storm clouds. Everyone watched the scene with bated breath. They could not wait to see how the legendary young prodigy of the Zhang clan would deal with the lightning tribulation. Hong Long Long. Provoked by Zhang Xian's approach, the lightning tribulation crackled wrathfully, threatening to annihilate everything beneath it. Facing the imposing lightning tribulation before him, Zhang Xian's heart could not help but shudder in dread. Nevertheless, he did not allow it to show on his face. With a perfectly composed expression he said, "Little Lele, we meet again." Hong Long. Upon hearing that voice, the lightning tribulation seemed to fall into a daze, such that the thunderous rumbling appeared to have toned down a little. "Stop kicking up a needless fuss. I'll give you a chance. Scram before I fly into a rage." Zhang Xian snorted impatiently. Boom! The lightning tribulation seemed to have fallen even quieter. It was hard to tell if they were overthinking it, but the crowd witnessing this scene felt as if the lightning tribulation was trembling in fright, seemingly fearful of the young man before it. Seeing that the lightning tribulation was still refusing to leave, Zhang Xian's voice grew even sharper and colder. "I am not a patient person, so you'd better quickly make up your mind whether you want to cross me or not. However, you should know that I'm not one to give second chances, so I hope that you won't make a decision you'll regret." Boom! After a moment of hesitation, the lightning tribulation seemed to have made the greatest decision in its life, and it released an indignant rumble. Voila! Following which, it turned around and took flight. In the blink of an eye, it had already disappeared without a trace. Earlier, when the ominous clouds set in, everyone had thought that the end of the world had come. But in the blink of an eye, a clear sky had been returned to them, leaving no trace of the impending calamity from earlier. The heck? This works as well. It's possible to scare away the lightning tribulation with words? When did the lightning tribulation become such an easy existence to deal with? Luo Qingqian and the others were shocked beyond words. Lei means lightning, and Lele is a terribly cute nickname for someone. Lightning tribulations were the world's punishment toward cultivators for getting ahead of themselves. There was no cultivator who was not fearful of lightning tribulations. Even someone as powerful as Luo Qingqian would turn pale in the face of a lightning tribulation, requiring much preparation before he dared clash with it. Yet, this young man had simply crushed all of their expectations. Everyone had thought that he would utilize some kind of formidable technique in order to chase away the lightning tribulation. But who would have thought? With just a simple reprimand and threat, the lightning tribulation actually backed off in fear. No cultivator on the master-teacher continent could have imagined that such a thing would actually be possible. Was this still the lightning tribulation that they knew of? Have you recorded it? We have recorded it, but will we really be able to learn something like this? An elder's apprehensive voice sounded from behind. It's unlikely. Luo Qingqian shook his head and sighed. If any of them dashed right up to the lightning tribulation and spouted such words, they would be reduced to cinders in the blink of an eye. Such an action was as good as challenging the authority of the heavens. Yet, despite his brazen actions, the young man had actually walked away from the ordeal unharmed. Could he actually not be the son of the Xingming Sword Saints, but the illegitimate son of the heavens themselves? Phew, I managed to overcome this hurdle. Zhang Xian heaved a sigh of relief. It was fortunate that he had already traumatized the lightning tribulation through his past experiences with it. Otherwise, if the lightning tribulation had really fallen, he would have been in deep trouble. Returning to the ground, Zhang Xian walked up to Luo Xianqing and smiled. All right, I have driven off the macrocosm ascendancy ordeal. Let's continue our fight. Luo Xianqing felt a prickling sensation on his scalp. Continue your head. How can an ordinary mortal like me possibly fight against someone who could scare off a lightning tribulation with just words? Isn't that asking for a beating? Forget it. It would be impolite for me to lay my hands on a guest like you. Luo Xianqing hurriedly shook his head vehemently. He had already made up his mind. From that day forth, he would no longer compare himself with the inhuman freak before him. Hearing that Luo Xianqing was unwilling to fight with him anymore, Zhang Xian sighed in disappointment. A moment later, he raised his head and looked at Luo Xianqing expectantly. Then, Brother Luo, can you bring me to meet your younger sister? With what he desired finally within reach, he could no longer retain his usual composure. Knowing that his younger sister was the only edge that he had against Zhang Xian at the moment, Luo Xianqing waved his hand in feigned impatience. You'll meet during the engagement ceremony tomorrow. You can at least wait one more day, right? Zhang Xian shook his head helplessly. All right then. Seeing that Zhang Xian was really disappointed, a playful smile emerged on Luo Xianqing's face as he asked, Do you really want to meet her? He was delighted to see Zhang Xian's disappointment, not just for his personal vengeance, but for his younger sister as well. After all, this meant that his younger sister carried significant weight in Zhang Xian's heart. Of course, Zhang Xian quickly nodded. Well, I guess it can't be helped if that's the case, Luo Xianqing said. I can arrange for a secret meeting with my younger sister for you. But just for a short moment, all right? The real reason he had come here to find Zhang Xian was to test the latter's feelings for his younger sister, as well as to allow the two lovebirds to have a short meeting prior to the engagement. Without a doubt, he was certain that Zhang Xian really harbored feelings for his younger sister. Given so, it would be pointless for him to make things difficult for the latter. While it was a breach of propriety for the couple to meet privately just ahead of the engagement, rules were ultimately just rules. Even if they were caught, the elders of both clans would only shrug it off as the recklessness of youth and turn a blind eye to it. Besides, the young man before him was not only the young prodigy and clan head of the Zhang clan, but the head of the Sanctum of Sages and Yangshi Senior. Is this for real? Zhang Xian's face immediately lit up in happiness. Of course, when have I ever not meant my words? Luo Xianqing harumphed impatiently. Wait here for a moment, I'll go make some arrangements. Zhang Xian anxiously nodded in response. Just as he was about to thank Luo Xianqing for his help, an elder of the Zhang clan suddenly rushed into the main hall. Clan head, what's wrong? Zhang Xian frowned upon seeing the grim look on the elder's face. We have just received news that Court Chief Zhao and Hall Master Wei of the Glacier Plain Court and Poison Hall have gone missing. The elder reported anxiously. Missing? Zhang Xian's heart skipped a beat upon hearing those words, and he abruptly rose to his feet. Narrowing his eyes coldly, he questioned. What do you mean by that? What happened? I don't know. It appears that there was some kind of fight. Then the both of them suddenly went missing. The Zhang clan has already dispatched some men to investigate the issue, the elder reported. After fully awakening her unique constitution, Zhaoye is able to stand her ground even against great sage experts. On the other hand, Wei Ruyan's poison is able to curb even Pavilion Master Ren Qingyuan. Yet the two of them actually went missing. Did they not even have any time to send out a help message? Zhang Xian clenched his fists tightly in disbelief. Even when Zhaoye was captured by Yu Ruoxin back then, she had still been able to find an opportunity to send a message to him asking for help. Just who in the world had the ability to make the two of them vanish, such that they could not even afford to send a help message to him? I'm afraid I don't know. The elder shook his head fearfully. Zhang Xian took in a deep breath to calm himself down before instructing. Do you know where the battle occurred? Bring me over to take a look. The Zhang clan's intelligence was unlikely to be inaccurate. Chances were that something had really happened to Zhaoye and Wei Ruyan, so there was no time for him to be idling around. If he wanted to know what had happened, he would have to drop by the area personally. Otherwise, it could already be too late by the time the others were able to get to the bottom of the matter. The elder nodded in response. The battle occurred in the vicinity of the Empire Alliance. Court Chief Zhao and Hall Master Wei were on their way back, after resolving the issue that day when something happened to them. In the vicinity of the Empire Alliance? Very well. After confirming the location, Zhang Xian turned to Luo Xianqing and clasped his fist apologetically. Brother Luo, knowing that this matter was far more important, Luo Xianqing nodded in understanding. Don't worry. You should hurry over to investigate the situation. If there's anything that I can help you with, feel free to contact me. Thanks. Zhang Xian walked out to the courtyard and took out the grade 9 formation flags that his mother had given him. It did not take him too long to construct a teleportation formation. Xianer, I'll come with you. Seemingly having heard of the matter as well, Sword Saint Meng suddenly rushed over. Don't worry, your father and Yangshi are here, so they will be able to handle matters here promptly. I don't feel too assured leaving you on your own. If anything happens on the other side, at least I'll be able to cover you. Most preparations for the engagement had been prepared, and Sword Saint Xing and Yangshi were around to settle whatever administrative matters there were, so there should not be any problems on their end. Zhang Xian nodded. While he had managed to achieve a breakthrough to Saint Nine Dan, it was still a little difficult for him to activate the teleportation formation with his current strength. Thus, it would indeed be helpful to have his mother tagging along. Let's go. Having made up their minds, the duo swiftly got to action. With Sword Saint Meng infusing her strength into the teleportation formation, it soon shone into activation. Who? The duo vanished simultaneously from the spot. The next moment, they were already in the vicinity of the Empire Alliance. According to the directions from the 8th Elder, it should be over there. Sword Saint Meng quickly scanned the surroundings and pointed in a direction. Swiftly advancing ahead, it did not take the two of them too long to arrive at the foot of a mountain. This mountain had been forcefully sliced in half by some formidable force, and the greenery on it had been completely destroyed. From this, it could be seen that an earth-shattering battle had occurred not too long ago. Zhang Xian clenched his fists tightly together. There was a layer of frost over the entire area. Without a doubt, it had been left by Zhaoya. At the same time, the plants in the area had taken on a dark yellow shade, a sign that they had been poisoned to death. From the looks of it, that seemed to be Wei Ruyan's doing. Initially, Zhang Xian had thought that they had been taken down separately, but contrary to his expectations, the two of them had actually been fighting side by side when they were subdued. Just who in the world wielded such tremendous power? Putting aside the Zhang clan and the Luo clan, probably even the Master Teacher Pavilion headquarters would not be able to take those two away discreetly. Could it be that otherworldly demonic emperor? Zhang Xian's eyes narrowed in astonishment. In terms of prowess, Zhaoya and Wei Ruyan were still far beneath Yangshi. Nevertheless, due to their unique abilities, in a real battle, even Yangshi would have much difficulty dealing with them. But despite their strength, they were still unable to send a signal for help before they were taken away. Unless it was him with the Pavilion Master Seal activated, or an ancient sage personally making a move, he could not think of anyone who could pull this off. I have insight. Zhang Xian swiftly scanned the surroundings. A moment later, a frown appeared on his forehead as his face turned livid. There isn't any trace of at all? The eye of insight had never failed him before, but at that very moment, it was not working. In the past, as long as he observed close enough, he would be able to find something amiss. However, no matter how he squinted, he could not find any traces of the assailant or the trail of his students. It was almost as if they had evaporated on the spot. Those two students of yours are considerably powerful. For the assailant to be able to kidnap them without leaving any trace behind, it must be a formidable foe. Sword Saint Meng remarked grimly. Could it be the doing of the otherworldly demonic tribe? Zhang Xian asked. The killing intent that otherworldly demons emanate is too powerful for it to be concealed entirely. Since there isn't any trace of their killing intent here, it stands to reason that it shouldn't be their doing. However, if the culprit is an ancient sage otherworldly demon, that might not hold anymore, Sword Saint Meng replied. Ancient sage. Zhang Xian's complexion turned terribly awful. While he did have some conflict with the Master Teacher Pavilion, they had already been resolved. It was unlikely that the master teachers would do something as ignoble as getting back at him through his students afterward. As for the other powers, the only way that they could nab his students was to mobilize their ancient sages. However, the human ancient sages did not have much time left, so to awaken them just to capture his students, the notion did not seem too probable. Thus, that made the otherworldly demonic emperor the most likely culprit. Noticing her son's agitation, Sword Saint Meng quickly stepped forward and took charge of the situation. Calm down, let's check the area once more. We might be able to find something. The most important thing that we have to do right now is confirm whom the culprit is, and whether your students are in any danger. Zhang Xian nodded in response. It was hard to remain rational when it came to something that affected one. Instead of panicking, the most important thing at hand was indeed to confirm if the two of them were safe. So, they went through every single detail that could be found in the vicinity, checking every nook and cranny carefully. Did you manage to find anything? Sword Saint Meng asked. Zhang Xian shook his head. The culprit is either very skilled in concealing their tracks, or they really vanished into thin air, leaving nothing behind at all. What about you? The person who had nabbed Zhaoya and Wei Ruyan had utilized some kind of unfathomable means that rendered even the eye of insight useless in identifying and tracking them down. I managed to figure out a few things, Sword Saint Meng replied. Firstly, based on the battle marks, the culprit used a total of 2 moves in order to subdue Zhaoya and Wei Ruyan, rendering the both of them completely helpless. 2 moves? Zhang Xian narrowed his eyes. That's right. While there are many smaller holes on the ground, which makes it seem as if there was an intense battle, there are only 2 larger pits. The first pit is cloaked with a layer of frost, so I deduced that it should be the area where Zhaoya faced off with the culprit. Tracing Sword Saint Meng's finger, Zhang Xian saw a slightly deeper pit with chilling frost lingering around it. It's likely that Zhaoya was intending to launch an attack, but it was deflected by the culprit. The deflected energy ended up scattering around the area, resulting in the many smaller holes. From that, it could be seen that even when Zhaoya was utilizing the limits of her strength, she was still no match for the culprit at all, Sword Saint Meng analyzed. Zhang Xian examined the surroundings once more and realized that the smaller holes seemed to congregate around the larger pit, which lent credibility to Sword Saint Meng's analysis. Furthermore, there were no notable marks of battle aside from that, so it was safe to assume that the battle had ended with that single collision. The same applies to Wei Ruyan through the other pit. Furthermore, from the proximity of the 2 larger pits, my guess is that the both of them made a move simultaneously, but the culprit still managed to subdue them with ease. Sword Saint Meng said with a grim look on her face. To be honest, she was a little astounded by her own discovery. For an individual to be able to subdue 2 top-notch experts in a single move, just who in the world could the culprit be? And what was their motive for doing this? Did the culprit not know that their actions would turn the Glacier Plain Court, Poison Hall, Sanctum of Sages, and even the Zhang clan against him? Each of those powers had extraordinary trump cards in their grasp that they would never use unless in desperate situations. Otherwise, they would not have been able to remain standing on the master-teacher continent for so many years. Clan head. While the 2 of them were still trying to make sense out of the situation, an elder of the Zhang clan suddenly flew over and called out. He was the 8th elder, the person who had delivered the message to Zhang Xian earlier. Zhang Xian turned his head over questioningly. The 8th elder clasped his fist and reported anxiously. Reporting to the clan head. The Yuan clan has just sent a request for help. Their young master has been kidnapped by someone as well. Yuan Tao has been kidnapped too? Zhang Xian nearly exploded on the spot. This is the message that an elder of the Yuan clan just sent over. The 8th elder passed a jade token over. Zhang Xian lowered his head and browsed through it gravely. Unlike the case with Zhaoya and Wei Ruyan, the culprit had stomped right into the Yuan clan, breaching all of its defenses in an instant. Not even the full might of the Yuan clan was enough to stop them. Before they could even clearly see whom the culprit was, the culprit had already fled with Yuan Tao in their grasp. Where's the Yuan clan? Zhang Xian asked the 8th elder anxiously. The Yuan clan is located here, Sword Saint Meng said as she quickly sent the coordinates over. Let's head over right now. After confirming the location, Zhang Xian took out another bunch of grade 9 formation flags and constructed a teleportation formation. The duo disappeared from the spot. The next instant, they were already in the vicinity of the Yuan clan. Clan head Zhang, Sword Saint Meng. Very soon, the deputy clan head of the Yuan clan led the two of them to the main hall. We didn't manage to catch the appearance of the culprit clearly, but he was wearing a long robe when he entered the Yuan clan. Our first thought was that he was a master teacher, but there were some discrepancies in his attire. As soon as he arrived, he immediately captured Yuan Tao. We tried to stop him, but he simply blasted throughout Guardian formation with a single palm strike, the deputy clan head said, as he pointed at the formation above. Zhang Xian and Sword Saint Meng turned their gazes upward and saw a palm print on the roof, and even the formations above them. A formation should not have any tangible form other than its formation flags, thus making it highly difficult to deal with. Yet, to be able to tear a hole right through multiple formations, and even prevent the formations from converging back in to repair the hole, the culprit would truly be a troublesome person to deal with. As one of the top sage clans on the continent, the guardian formation of the Yuan clan was the crystallization of the wisdom of many generations of experts. Even among grade 9 formations, it was ranked at the very top. It would be no exaggeration to say that even those who had reached the pinnacle of great sage would be unable to do so. Yet the culprit was able to do it with a single palm strike. It was no wonder he could capture Yuan Tao, who had already awakened his emperor's bloodline, so easily. It seemed like the culprit had already achieved an inconceivable level of strength. Even Yang Shi would not necessarily be able to pull this off. Sword Saint Meng's lips twitched at the sight as well. She had sparred with Yang Shi before, so she had a rough idea of just how powerful the latter was. Since she had said such words, it was likely the case. With a concerned frown, Zhang Xian could not help but ask, "Is the culprit an ancient sage?" Having reached the pinnacle of great sage, Yang Shi was indubitably one of the strongest experts on the master-teacher continent, matched by very few in the newer generation. The only ones who could really outdo him would be the ancient sages. And the only one whom Zhang Xian knew had the ability to do so was the otherworldly demonic emperor. No, the culprit isn't an ancient sage. The deputy clan head shook his head. I still can recognize the aura of ancient sages, and I'm certain that the other party hasn't reached such a level yet. The culprit is so powerful despite having yet to reach ancient sage. Zhang Xian's heart jolted in astonishment. Does the culprit possess some means reminiscent to the Pavilion Master Seal, granting him strength invincible among those beneath ancient sage? While Yang Shi was unable to pull off a palm strike that could blast a hole right through the Yuan clan's guardian formation, Zhang Xian felt that he should be able to do it with the power of the Pavilion Master Seal. Could this mean that the culprit wielded strength comparable to him, even in his enhanced state? But he was already making use of Kong Shi's blood essence. Did the culprit have something on par with that? But that's impossible. The fact that the Pavilion Master Seal containing 3 droplets of Kong Shi's blood was considered one of the strongest artifacts of the Master Teacher Pavilion headquarters was enough to show how valuable and rare it was. It did not seem too probable for there to be a second artifact in the world that could compare to it. Even if the other party had Kong Shi's blood droplets in their possession, based on what he knew, only celestial master teachers should be able to utilize the power within them. So, it should not be possible for them to utilize the power within the blood droplets. Unable to make sense of the situation, Zhang Xian asked, "Could it be an ancient sage intentionally lowering his cultivation?" "That isn't too likely. If an ancient sage was truly here, the ancient sage of our Yuan clan would surely have sensed his presence and awoken," replied the deputy clan head, shaking his head. Zhang Xian widened his eyes in realization. If the Yuan clan had a hibernating ancient sage, it would make sense for him to awaken upon sensing the presence of other ancient sages. The fact that their ancient sage remained motionless despite the assault from the culprit showed that even though the culprit wielded incredible strength, He had yet to achieve a breakthrough to ancient sage. To wield such strength despite not being an ancient sage. Just who could it be? Zhang Xian's complexion was turning worse and worse. It might have been better if the culprit was a real ancient sage, so that the Yuan clan's ancient sage had awoken and stopped him, or, at the very least, found out who the culprit was. However, that was unfortunately not the case, and that effectively left them with no clues to work with. All of a sudden, Zhang Xian recalled something and asked anxiously, Yuan clan, do you know where the Spirit Awakener Guild headquarters is located in? I have a map over here. The head of the Yuan clan flicked his hand and passed a jade token over. Are you worried that the culprit might make a move on Wang Ying too? Sword Saint Meng immediately understood Zhang Xian's intentions. That's right. Zhang Xian nodded in response. Zhaoye Wei Ruyan and Yuan Tao, 3 of his direct disciples, had been kidnapped just like that. If the culprit was intentionally working against him, Wang Ying was likely to be the next victim. As for Zheng Yang, he should be safe with the Combat Master Hall. Even if the culprit really wielded prowess invincible beneath Ancient Sage, the culprit was still unlikely to provoke the powerful Combat Master Hall easily. So Zheng Yang should be in a considerably safer position. Let's quickly head over. Zhang Xian quickly set up a teleportation formation, and before long, they were already in the Spirit Awakener Guild headquarters. After having expended her energy and activating 3 teleportation formations, and using her Jinqi to protect Zhang Xian from the spatial turbulence, Sword Saint Meng was starting to show signs of exhaustion. Teacher, why are you here? We were just planning to head over to the Luo clan to celebrate your engagement. Wang Ying was delighted by Zhang Xian's arrival, but a slight hint of bewilderment could be seen in the depths of her eyes. She knew that her teacher would not come to visit her all of a sudden without any reason, especially since they were soon going to meet in the Luo clan. Wang Ying, Zhaoye Wei Ruyan, and Yuan Tao have been kidnapped. Zhang Xian explained grimly. They have been kidnapped. Wang Ying's eyes dilated in disbelief as her body trembled in shock. But who could possibly have the strength to kidnap them? I have no idea either. I was worried that something might have happened to you, so I rushed over to check on you, Zhang Xian said. Teacher, you suspect that the person might make a move on me next? Wang Ying swiftly understood what was going on. She turned around and instructed, Elder Qin, inform all Spirit Awakeners to prepare themselves. A battle could be coming very soon. Yes, understanding the severity of the situation, Elder Qin quickly left the area to make preparations. After making arrangements, Wang Ying turned to Zhang Xian worriedly. Teacher, do you know how Senior Zhaoye and the others are doing at the moment? I don't know that either. The culprit didn't leave behind any trail, so even I'm unable to track the other party down. Zhang Xian shook his head with a deep frown. For the time being, I'm thinking of lying in wait here. As long as the culprit strikes once more, we'll be able to apprehend and interrogate him. I understand. Realizing her teacher's intentions, Wang Ying nodded before falling silent. She arranged a place for the 2 of them to rest before sitting down to cultivate, not wasting any time at all. She was unable to match up to Zhaoye and the others in terms of talent, so she could only make it up with her diligence. Along with the ample resources that she had as the head of the Spirit Awakener Guild, she was still able to improve considerably quickly. As they waited, the day soon went by. Before they knew it, the sun had already risen once again. However, there was still no movement from the culprit. It was as if the culprit knew that they were there, and had chosen to lie low for the time being. Unable to wait patiently any longer, Zhang Xian stood up and asked, Do you have any long-range communication formations here? Send a message over to Zheng Yang to check if he's alright. Alright, teacher. Wang Ying replied before leaving the room. Not too long later she returned. Teacher, Senior Zheng Yang has already arrived in the Luo clan. It doesn't seem like he has met with any trouble along the way. Nothing happened on his end either? Zhang Xian frowned. As the culprit had made a move on Zhaoye, Wei Ruyan, and Yuan Tao one after another, he figured that the culprit meant him and his students harm. That was the reason he had chosen to camp in the Spirit Awakener Guild for an entire day, waiting for the culprit to appear. Yet it turned out that nothing had happened during this duration. Could he have mistaken the intentions of the culprit? All of a sudden, Zhang Xian's body stiffened as he exclaimed in horror. Unique constitutions. Previously, Yang Shi had said that in order to obtain the Great Codex of Spring and Autumn, other than gathering all 6 celestial amulets of legacy, one could also break the seal through substituting the amulets with the blood of those possessing specific unique constitutions. Zhao Ya, Wei Ruyan, and Yuan Tao's unique constitutions happened to be the few unique constitutions that could be used to substitute the amulets. On the other hand, Wang Ying and Zheng Yang did not possess a unique constitution, which might explain why they had not been targeted. Could that be the reason why the 3 of them had been targeted? If that was the intention of the culprit, in a sense, this could be considered good news as the 3 of them should not be in any danger for the time being. After all, the purpose for the culprit capturing them was to open the seal to the Temple of Confucius, and not to kill them. In order to ensure that nothing went wrong, it was unlikely for the culprit to harm them until the seal was finally deciphered. From this moment onward, Wang Ying, you should follow me around. Try not to stray too far away. Zhang Xian pondered for a moment before instructing. In the end, the matter about unique constitution was just speculation on his part. It would still be best for him to be careful. Where do you intend to head to now? Sword Saint Ming asked. After a day of rest, she had recuperated from her exertion the previous day. Her aura had regained its usual sharpness, reminiscent of a keen edge that could slice the heavens in two. Let's return to the Luo clan, Zhang Xian said. Right now. Sword Saint Ming was surprised to hear those words. She could tell that there was a deep bond between her son and his students, so she had thought that her son would want to further investigate the issue. There are some things that I would like to ask Yang Shi. Also, if the culprit is really searching for unique constitutions, I suspect that he might go for the little princess next. If that's the case, there's a chance that he might wreak havoc during the engagement ceremony. Zhang Xian said. There was also one more thing he had neglected to mention, and that was that the Zhang clan and the Luo clan each possessed a celestial amulet of legacy. If the culprit had really captured Zhao Ya and the others for the sake of opening the Temple of Confucius, there was no way he would pass on the real celestial amulets of legacy. Furthermore, today was the day of the engagement between him and the little princess of the Luo clan, so nearly the entire upper echelons of the 2 clans would be around. From such a perspective, it could be an ideal opportunity for the culprit to strike if he wanted to acquire the real celestial amulets of legacy. Thus, the most effective move that he could make at this moment was actually to return to the Luo clan. Besides, if he could learn from Yang Shi how the unique constitutions could be used to decipher the seal in the Temple of Confucius, he might be able to uncover some useful clues that would help him track down the culprit. Let's go then. Seeing that Zhang Xian had made up his mind, Sword Saint Ming decided not to say too much. They swiftly constructed a teleportation formation and warped back to the Luo clan. It was a bustling sight within the Luo clan. Festive lanterns were hung all around. An auspicious red cloth cloaked the buildings throughout shrouding ethereal city, indicating a joyous celebration. On this jolly day, the first elder of the Luo clan, Luo Qingchen, was dressed in a grand robe stitched with golden lining as he stood at the entrance to the main hall of the Luo clan, with a radiant smile on his wrinkled face. The head of the Jiang clan, Jiang Fangyu, has arrived with 30 Saint 8 Dan beasts to congratulate the Zhang clan and the Luo clan on their engagement. The head of the Mu clan, Mu Hongzhen, has arrived with 3 boxes of 1,000-year-old medicinal herbs and 10 stalks of the true spirit peepa tree to congratulate the union of the Zhang clan and the Luo clan. The head of the Shui clan, Shui Fangtian, has arrived with 3,000 Wateranima crystals, 5,000 Southern Sea diamonds, and 207 star dragon eyes to offer early congratulations to the Zhang clan and the Luo clan for their matrimony. Such declarations sounded one after another as eminent figures of the master-teacher continent arrived one after another with wide smiles on their faces. Even a stomp of one of these figures' feet would resound loudly throughout the continent. But at that moment, They were personally delivering invaluable gifts to the Luo clan, not daring to show the slightest hint of impoliteness. Looking at the bustle all around, one of the elders in charge of welcoming the guests could not help but remark in awe. It seems like the entire continent has heard of Zhang Shi's affairs in the Empire Alliance just a few days ago. This is just the engagement ceremony, but they are already delivering such generous gifts. I can't begin to imagine how long the queue of gifts will be for the official wedding. While the Luo clan wielded considerable influence on the master-teacher continent, it was far beyond its means to gather so many powerhouses together on the spur of the moment. In fact, even the Zhang clan would have trouble pulling something like that off. But Zhang Xian, the current head of the Zhang clan, had managed to do it during a mere engagement ceremony. There was no doubt that the official marriage ceremony would be far grander than this, such that even the Master-Teacher Pavilion headquarters would feel compelled to send an envoy down to relay their blessings. Of course, the reason for this unprecedented grandeur could only be attributed to the magnificent show of power from Zhang Xian a few days earlier. By now, the news should have already spread far and wide across the entire continent. In the tens of thousands of years since the establishment of the Master-Teacher Pavilion, no one had ever successfully escaped from its arrest warrant before. However, Zhang Xian had created history on that very day. Not only did the world learn that the future head of the Combat Master Hall, the Master of the Poison Hall, the Chief of the Glacier Plain Court, and so on were all his students, he was even the head of the Sanctum of Sages and Yang Shi Sr. That news had really shocked the entire world. With so many distinguished identities to his name, how could these shrewd powers possibly remain oblivious to the stance that they ought to take? It was also with knowledge of this that the Zhang clan did not hesitate to conduct the inauguration ceremony to officialize Zhang Xian's position as the clan head. Under Zhang Xian's halo, the Zhang clan's position was immediately brought to an unprecedented height. With so many formidable powers under the Zhang clan's sphere of influence, the Zhang clan would only grow stronger with time. Given so, who would dare snub the Zhang clan's dignity and refuse to offer their congratulations? Putting aside something as important as an engagement ceremony, even if Zhang Xian suffered the slightest cold, there was no doubt that an army of clan heads and sect leaders would swiftly deliver medicine and artifacts over as a display of goodwill. Indeed, how many years has it been since our Luo clan last enjoyed such splendor? Another elder by the side replied deeply. Even when their little princess had shocked the world by successfully assimilated the dimension silencer, thus elevating the reputation of the Luo clan to new heights, only a couple of clans had come to the Luo clan to offer their congratulations. Yet, in this very moment, nearly all of the notable powers throughout the Master-Teacher continent had arrived to convey their best wishes. It was no wonder the two elders felt as they did. Previously, when there was completely no news from the young prodigy of the Zhang clan, I had still been lamenting at how unfair the engagement was for the little princess. Who could have thought that the young prodigy would suddenly appear before our eyes once more with such magnificence, reminiscent to how it was when he was born back then? Indeed, born as a Khanate saint, even Kong Shi's sculpture levitated into the air to pay its respects to him, and the Master-Teacher Pavilion headquarters specially sent an envoy down to relay their goodwill. There was no one in the world back then who didn't know about the extraordinary young prodigy of the Zhang clan. Truly, he didn't disappoint us even after all these years. Well, a star will eventually shine, but more importantly, who could have thought that person the little princess likes would actually be him too? I can't even begin to describe how happy I am for the little princess. After all the heavy tension over the past few months, it seems like everything will be resolved perfectly. Many elders nodded delightfully in agreement at those words. Despite the glory cast on the Luo clan as a result of the marriage with the Zhang clan, as long as the little princess was not fond of her fiancé, it would be like dynamite had been planted in their midst, waiting to explode at a trigger. Fortunately, it had been found that the little princess and the young prodigy actually had mutual feelings for one another, and this was the best ending that everyone hoped to see. Away from the bustle at the forefront, there was a small residence deep in the Luo clan that was filled with resplendent flowers. Within one of the rooms, a young lady sat before a mirror, carefully dressing herself up. A maid standing behind the young lady combed her hair carefully as she excitedly exclaimed, "Young mistress, doesn't it sound very lively outside? I heard that many distinguished figures have come to our Luo clan." I know. This is the third time that you have said that." The young lady shook her head with a helpless smile. "Back then, I couldn't understand why someone as outstanding as our young mistress would fancy a principal from a Tier 1 Empire's Master Teacher Academy. But it turns out that the future young master is actually a remarkable figure. Without saying a word at all, so many powers have already come to offer their congratulations. Other than the Master Teacher Pavilion, I can't think of any power that could possibly wield such influence." The maid combing the young lady's hair remarked with admiration twinkling in her eyes. "Not to forget, the Master Teacher Pavilion is without its real pavilion master at the moment, so it would be difficult for it to rally so many people at once." Another maid chirped in with a chuckle. "Our young mistress is truly a person blessed by the heavens." Just like that, the two maids chatted delightfully among themselves. The young lady seated in front of the mirror looked at her impeccable appearance in the mirror, and a blissful smile crept onto her lips. All of a sudden, the young lady turned around to look at the maid behind her, and the blissful smile on her face was replaced by uncertainty and apprehension. "Have you found out what I asked you to investigate? Zhang Shi, did he say anything when he arrived yesterday?" The maid was taken aback by the young lady's sudden actions. Just as she was about to speak, footsteps abruptly sounded outside, and cheerful laughter filled the air. "There's no need to ask them. I have already checked on your behalf. Young master." Upon seeing who the person who had just walked into the room was, the maids quickly bowed down. Luo Xianqing waved his hands, gesturing for the maids to rest easy. Looking at his younger sister, he chuckled. "When I spoke of you before the lad yesterday, he was so agitated that he would have flown right to your side if he could. If not for me holding him back, he really might have done so." "He was agitated?" The young lady's face reddened in embarrassment. "Elder brother, please don't make fun of me. Are you certain that he was agitated because of me? Aren't you asking the obvious? He's already here to ask for your hand in marriage, so how could he not know who you are? There's no need to worry." Luo Xianqing shook his head, not understanding his younger sister's worries. Perhaps this was how brides were. The closer they were to their marriage, the more unnerved they became. "That's a relief. I was just thinking that when I had disguised my appearance when I first met him." The little princess replied with an awkward smile. "I was afraid that he wouldn't recognize me after seeing my true appearance." "Young mistress, rest assured. I have seen your disguised look, too. And the current you looks at least 10 times prettier than you did back then. There's no way the future young master wouldn't be charmed by your beauty," a maid remarked joyfully. "That's surely the case, young mistress. I can swear on my life that if you meet him with your current looks, he will swiftly fall in love with you all over again." The other maid teased with a smile. "The two of you only know how to tease me," the young lady retorted with a crimson blush on her face. Turning her gaze back to Luo Xianqing, she asked, "Elder brother, where is he at the moment?" "He has some matters to attend to, so he's currently out at the moment, but he should be returning very soon. Yusin, you don't have to worry about anything. I'm sure that you don't want him to see you with a fretful frown on your face, right?" Luo Xianqing chuckled as he massaged the young lady's glabella to loosen the deep creases there. The young lady nodded with a smile. As far as she could remember, she had always carried the burden of an engagement. She had thought that this was the only path that she could follow, and the only thing that she could do was compromise. As such, she had never dared imagine a life where she walked down the long journey of life with the person whom she loved till the end of their time. Perhaps, the heavens were not as heartless as she thought. Seeing the euphoric look on his younger sister's face, Luo Xianqing said with a relieved smile, "Sword Saint Xing of the Zhang clan is currently discussing the plans for the marriage ceremony with our father, and we have already accepted their betrothal gifts. Most likely, you will return to the Zhang clan with that lad today." You should quickly head out once you are done preparing. The guests are dying to meet you. While he was a little reluctant to see his younger sister marrying another man, this was already the best possible situation there could possibly be. Such a coincidence was one that he never would have dared imagine to be possible. The young lady nodded before turning her gaze back to the mirror. Help me check if there's anywhere that needs more tidying up. Don't worry, young mistress. There's no one who could be more beautiful than you today. The maid behind replied with a smile. All along, the young mistress had been a cold and composed person. Who could have thought that she would have such a side to her when it came to the person whom she loved? Is that so? Heaving a sigh of relief, the young lady stood up and looked at her elder brother with a demure smile. Elder brother, let's go. Luo Xianqing nodded as he led the way out. The two maids quickly followed behind them. The young lady could not resist asking, Elder brother, who is here today? While she had heard rumors about the formidable lineup of guests from the maids, she was not too clear about the specifics. Nearly all of the clan heads and first elders of the sage clans are present. It seems like that lad's reputation is really one to behold. Luo Xianqing chuckled. To be honest, even he could hardly believe that so many people had come. All of the sage clan's clan heads are present? The young lady widened her eyes in astonishment. They are all here to congratulate us on our engagement? Why else do you think? Luo Xianqing replied. The last time something as grand as this happened was when our founder established the Luo clan. But there weren't even as many guests back then. Your engagement has really pushed the Luo clan back to the top of the master-teacher continent once more. While that lad can be unreliable from time to time, I must say that he has really done well this time. He has allowed our little princess over here to marry in fashion, not suffering the slightest grievance at all. The young lady nodded as a warm surge flowed into her heart. Despite having assimilated the dimension silencer and becoming the strongest expert in the younger generation, she knew that even she did not have the influence to rally so many people at once. This glory would be eternally carved in the history of the Luo clan, remembered even after many millenniums. The young mistress has always wished to marry the person whom she loves with the blessing of the entire world. Can this be considered as her wish coming true? One of the maids behind asked with a smile. Of course. If this can't be considered as the blessing of the entire world, what else could be? Luo Xianqing replied. The main hall is right ahead. You should put on your veil first. While merrily chatting, they finally arrived before the main hall. With a gaze from Luo Xianqing, the maids behind quickly covered the young lady's ravishing looks with a red veil. According to tradition, the bride had to cover her face with a red veil during the engagement ceremony. With so many powers observing the ceremony, this tradition had to be respected. After putting on the red veil, the young lady walked into the main hall behind Luo Xianqing. Before they could even assume their positions, a loud declaration came from behind. Deputy Sanctum Head Zhang Tiancheng and the many elders of the Sanctum of Sages have arrived to congratulate the fated couple from the Zhang clan and the Luo clan. Deputy Pavilion Master Renqing Yuan and 10 other 9-star master teachers from the Master Teacher Pavilion headquarters have come to relay their blessings to the engaged couple. Even the personnel from the Sanctum of Sages and Master Teacher Pavilion headquarters have come. Furthermore, it's the Deputy Sanctum Head and the Deputy Pavilion Master. The young lady was astounded. It was already shocking to see that all of the heads of the sage clans had come to offer their best wishes. But to think that even the Deputy Pavilion Master of the Master Teacher Pavilion would arrive with so many 9-star master teachers to relay their blessings. There was truly no greater honor than this. With a ceremony of such a scale, there was nothing more that she could ask for. Grand Elder Hua Shiqing of the Master Teacher Pavilion has come with his disciples to congratulate the Zhang clan and the Luo clan. Hua Shiqing? Isn't that the Grand Elder, who has already retired from the secular world? Why would he attend this wedding ceremony as well? I have no idea. Previously, when Renqing Yuan was inaugurated as the Deputy Pavilion Master, an invitation was sent to Hua Shiqing as well, but he turned down the invitation. Who would have expected him to attend this wedding instead? Could there be any greater honor than this? If I were the little princess of the Luo clan, I would have died of bliss by now. Shocked and envious exclamations erupted all around. Even Grand Elder Hua Shiqing is here as well. The young lady clenched her fists tightly in agitation. When she was still a young child, her father had taken her to Hua Shiqing in the hope of convincing the latter to tutor her, only to be turned down. Who would have thought that the other party would actually attend her engagement ceremony? Mystical Hand's gentleman has come to relay his blessings. Grand Elder Wu Qing of the Blacksmith Guild has come to congratulate the soon-to-be wedded couple. Priest of the Calm Lake Duiyao have come to relay their blessings. Frenzied Saber Ling Huchong has come to offer his best wishes. The shock did not stop with just the arrival of Grand Elder Hua Shiqing. Soon, many more declarations sounded outside. Many familiar names who had left a mark in the history of the master-teacher continent sounded one after another in the ears of the crowd, raising an uproar in the main hall. Mystical Hand's gentleman is a figure who rose into prominence 1,000 years ago. He was once the head of the Physician Guild, but he suddenly disappeared from the world 500 years ago. Many thought that he had passed on. But who knew that not only is he still alive, he even came to relay his blessings to the newlywed? That legendary man has saved the lives of countless experts during his time, such that many of the experts from the older generation are indebted to him. Isn't Grand Elder Wu Qing known as the Heartless Blacksmith, devoid of any sentiments or emotions even to his loved ones? It's said that his son personally begged him to forge a weapon for his lover, only to be shut out of his door. Yet he actually came for this engagement ceremony. I have taken a look at his gift, and it seems to be a great sage-tier treasure. Who is the priest of the Calm Lake? That man is quite an eccentric figure on the master-teacher continent. He made a name for himself 300 years ago, when he defeated 3 9-star master teachers simultaneously with his swordsmanship. He's very fond of chess, and he has gone around the world challenging chess experts one after another, only to be unable to find a worthy rival. But one day, he abruptly disappeared from the face of the continent, his whereabouts known to none. I never would have thought that he would come for the engagement ceremony today. Actually, the one whom I respect the most is still Frenzied Saber Ling Huchong. I came here hoping to forge a good relationship with the Luo clan and the Zhang clan. But who could have thought that I would actually have the honor of meeting these distinguished experts as well? This is really a huge eye-opener for me. This trip here hasn't been wasted. Indeed, I would have regretted it for life if I had missed out on such a huge gathering. As the names that only existed in legends in the minds of the crowd sounded one after another, a huge uproar broke out amid the crowd. Even the esteemed heads of the sage clans trembled excitedly in face of these legendary figures, as if little kids meeting their idols. Zhang Shi was the one who got all of them here. With her face veiled, the young lady was unable to see what was happening around her. However, she could still roughly figure out what was going on from the discussion of others, and her eyes reddened in agitation. As a female offspring of a major clan, her fate had already been determined at birth. Knowing that she could only walk down the path that others had carved for her, she had never dared dream of the future. She had never thought that her life could ever be so dazzling and magnificent. Thank you. Knowing that Zhang Shi must have gone through a lot of effort to specially invite them over for this occasion, the young lady's heart was filled with gratitude. Look, Zhang Shi is here. At that moment, another commotion broke out amid the crowd. Zhang Xian and Sword Saint Meng were making their way into the main hall from afar. How come there are so many people around? Zhang Xian had rushed all the way back to the Luo clan. But before he even arrived at the main hall where the guests were hosted, he had already nearly fainted from shock. He was only here to ask for Luo Ruoxin's marriage in hand. It was not even their marriage yet. He had thought that it would just be a small ceremony consisting mainly of his students. But that notion had swiftly been overthrown by the sight before him. Given the commotion that you've caused, it's a given that you would draw so many people here. As for those experts who have already gone into seclusion, I figure that they have come on Yang Shi's account. Sword Saint Ming said. Yang Shi's account? That's right. Grand Elder Hua Shiqing of the Master Teacher Pavilion headquarters once received Yang Shi's guidance, and the two of them are very close friends with one another. As for the mystical hands gentleman, it's said that Yang Shi once saved him from a treacherous predicament. I'm not too sure about Wuxia, but for the priest of the calm lake, it's said that he challenged Yang Shi to a chess battle several hundred years ago, only to lose tragically. Eventually, he could only resign himself to becoming a guard for Yang Shi's residence, Sword Saint Meng explained with a smile. Those were confidential secrets, but due to the close relationship between the Zhang clan and Yang Shi, she was still aware of quite a few things, considering that most of them were seniors who had already retired from the secular world. Who other than Yang Shi could possibly have the ability to rally them together? I'll have to make sure to relay my thanks to Yang Shi later on then, Zhang Xian remarked as he shook his head with a bitter smile. He had come to ask for Luo Ruoxin's hand in marriage, but it turned out to be something far larger than what he had thought it would be. However, it was apparent that Yang Shi was doing this for him too. The more imposing the engagement ceremony was, the greater his influence would be. In the future, when he revealed his identity as the celestial master teacher, his authority and prestige would be greater too. Let's enter the main hall, Sword Saint Meng said. As soon as the two of them entered the main hall, Lu Chong and Zheng Yang swiftly rushed up to him. Teacher, they had also heard the news, and it had left them deeply worried and anxious. I've been to the scene, and with the culprit's strength, he could easily do away with Zhaoye and the others if he wanted to. The fact that he chose to go through the trouble of kidnapping them instead means that they won't be in any danger for the time being. Zhang Xian reassured the two young men before him. However, we still mustn't let our guard down. Since the culprit has made the first move, we can anticipate more actions from him in the future. If I'm right, there's a good chance that the culprit might appear here today. So prepare yourselves for battle at any moment. Zheng Yang and Lu Chong traded glances before nodding simultaneously. Zhaoye and Wei Ruyan were by no means weaker than them. Yet the culprit had still managed to kidnap them so easily. If the culprit went to the Luo clan, they would really have to use everything at their disposal in order to prevent the culprit from getting away. Clan Head Zhang, I am the sect leader of the Lucid River sect. It's really an honor to be able to witness the engagement between the Zhang clan and the Luo clan. Shortly after Lu Chong and Zheng Yang walked away to make preparations, the others in the room swiftly swarmed over after confirming Zhang Xian's identity. That's Zhang Shi? He sure is an extraordinary young man. Despite only being 20 this year, not only has he become the head of the Sanctum of Sages, all of his students are also powerhouses of the master-teacher continent. I really wonder how he managed to do this. I heard that even the esteemed Yang Shi has to call him senior. Given Yang Shi's guidance and the fact that he possesses the purest bloodline in the Zhang clan, it's no wonder he has achieved such heights at his young age. Everyone, there's always time to get together and chat in the future. It wouldn't be good if we made the pair of soon-to-be newlyweds miss their auspicious hour. Luo Qingchen stepped forward and calmed the crowd down. Be it for engagement or marriage, it was always best to pick out the most auspicious moment in order to bless the couple. Such traditions were exceptionally important for large clans with a long heritage, such as the Luo clan. Knowing this, the crowd shared some pleasantries before swiftly opening a pathway into the main hall. Zhang Xian inwardly heaved a sigh of relief before following Luo Qingchen to the center of the main hall. There were 3 chairs at the very center, and Sword Saint Xing and Yang Shi were seated in 2 of them. As for the last one, it was taken up by a rather imposing-looking middle-aged man. His facial features bore some semblance of Luo Xuanqing's, but they were a little deeper and more authoritative. Without a doubt, the middle-aged man was the little princess father, as well as his future father-in-law. Standing behind the middle-aged man was Luo Xianqing, and a demure young lady with a red veil concealing her appearance. Ruoxin. Zhang Xian's body tensed up upon seeing the young lady. An indescribable joy surged through his body. The several months that they had been apart from one another felt like several decades to him. There was no day or night when the young lady had not crossed his mind. Zhang Xian took in a deep breath to calm his agitation before forcefully turning his attention back to the discussion between the heads of the 2 clans. wanting to hear the details for the wedding. However, his eyes still could not help but drift over to the young lady, and he swiftly noticed that something was amiss. Her physique looks a little different. He had sealed his relationship with Luo Ruoxin at the Qiuwu Palace, but they had ended up parting from one another not too long after that. While the time spent together was extremely short, her beautiful physique was imprinted in the depths of his mind, never to be forgotten. While there was no flaw to be picked with the demure young lady beneath the red veil too, the differences were still apparent to him. Could it be that she has not only disguised her appearance, but her physique back then too? He had indeed used the Eye of Insight on Luo Ruoxin before, and he was aware that she had disguised her appearance. However, as for her physique, he really had not paid too much heed to it. Could this be what her body truly looked like? Just as Zhang Xian's mind was wandering around the place, conflicted as to whether he should use his spiritual perception or Eye of Insight on the young lady to assuage the uncertainty in his mind, Sword Saint Xing's voice suddenly sounded ahead of him. Xianer, our opinion is that the marriage ceremony should be carried out as soon as possible after we return to our Zhang clan. What's your view on the matter? I have no objections to that. Zhang Xian hurriedly nodded. Marrying Luo Ruoxin had been his greatest desire ever since he arrived on the master-teacher continent, and with the end point already in sight, how could he possibly back out at this moment? Great, it's settled then. I would like to thank our friends for coming all the way here for us. And I would like to formally invite every single one of you to the Zhang clan to witness this joyous occasion for both our clans. Sword Saint Xing laughed heartily. Of course. I wouldn't want to miss out on the wedding toast. The crowd quickly clasped their fists and replied. Having decided on the procedures for the marriage ceremony, there was nothing else that needed discussion. Thus, Sword Saint Xing stood up from his seat and gestured grandly. Great, let's set off then. At this point, he realized that his son was still standing in a daze by the side, and he could not help but chuckle. What are you spacing out for? Shouldn't you be leading your future wife to the bridal sedan chair? Yes. Zhang Xian shook himself out of his daze and hurriedly walked over to the young lady. Just as he was about to hold the young lady's hand, a huge commotion suddenly erupted outside, followed by deafening explosions. What's happening? The head of the Luo clan hurriedly stood up and looked outside. One of the elders of the Luo clan rushed over and reported, "Clan head, bad news. 2 intruders are barging into our main hall, and our men aren't able to stop them. So many experts have gathered here today to witness the marriage between the Zhang clan and the Luo clan. Yet there's still someone who is so brazen as to dare wreak havoc here? Very well. Allow me to meet that person then." The face of the head of the Luo clan turned livid, and his eyes narrowed menacingly. To dare stir trouble on such an important occasion, not to mention in the face of so many experts, were the intruders not too impertinent? It should be him. Zhang Xian quickly shot a glance over to Zheng Yang and the others, only to see that they had already prepared themselves. Previously, he had already guessed that the culprit who had kidnapped Zhaoye, Wei Ruyan, and Yuan Tao would appear at this important occasion in order to acquire the celestial amulets of legacy from the Zhang clan and the Luo clan. And considering the fuss that was happening at this moment, it seemed like his intuition was spot on. Let's head over to take a look as well. Unable to remain composed upon realizing that the culprit who had kidnapped his students was in the vicinity, Zhang Xian quickly followed the head of the Luo clan out. As he reached the doorway of the main hall, he saw all of the elders of the Luo clan and the experts who had charged out earlier being knocked back forcefully. Even with their strength combined, they were not a match for the intruders. Are they the ones who have kidnapped Zhaoye? With such a thought in mind, Zhang Xian turned his gaze toward the intruders and saw that the person who had made a move earlier was an adolescent boy, appearing to be only around 13 to 14 years old. Standing behind the adolescent boy was a veiled young lady. While it was impossible to discern her appearance through the veil, it was apparent from her silhouette that she was a rare beauty. Her physique. Zhang Xian's body suddenly stiffened as a bad premonition arose in his heart. Hula! At the same moment, the veil concealing the young lady's face slowly drifted to the ground, revealing a ravishing face that would leave any man frenzied over it. Fire Source City, I open my heart to you. Qiuwu Palace, I swore my future to you. Zhangxian, you have promised to be with me no matter what the future holds. But why do I see you marrying another woman here? Many emotions rippled in the reddened eyes of the young lady. Anger, indignation, sorrow, resentment. Why you are Luo Ruoxin? As if a streak of lightning had flashed through his brain, Zhang Xian's mind was plunged into chaos. The young lady before him was none other than the person whom he had sworn to walk down the long journey of life with, Luo Ruoxin. But if she was Luo Ruoxin, who could the little princess be? Hurriedly turning around, Zhang Xian saw the other young lady removing her red veil, revealing a breathtaking countenance that carried some semblance of someone he knew. Zhang Xian froze on the spot. Qiqi. It's a widespread Chinese superstition that there are certain days and hours that are more auspicious than the others, and this often influences the choice of date and time for one's marriage. For those who are unfamiliar with traditional Chinese wedding process, the groom usually first heads to the bride's family to fetch the bride and put her into a bridal sedan chair, which is basically a red carriage carried by men. The groom would lead to the bride back to the groom's family, where the marriage ceremony would be conducted. She was much more beautiful than the Luo Qiqi that he knew, but from her disposition, gaze, and gesture, he could still see the student who was filled with admiration for him in her, Luo Qiqi. It was in the Huanyu Empire that they first met. Despite her cold exterior, she was a very hard-working and driven person, never hesitating to lower her pride in order to improve herself. At Qingyuan City, she confessed to him earnestly, only to be pushed away then. He had thought that it would be unlikely for them to meet once more after their parting then. But who could have thought that their reunion would actually come in such a form? How could Qiqi be the little princess? Zhang Xian felt as if he was going to crumble into pieces. All this time, he had thought that Luo Ruoxin was the little princess of the Luo clan. In order to be with her, he had desperately trained and cultivated. He had wreaked havoc in the Zhang clan. He tried his best to get close with Luo Xianqing. But all of a sudden, it turned out that the little princess was actually Qiqi, not Luo Ruoxin. His mind simply could not accept that fact all of a sudden. Luo Qiqi had also noticed Luo Ruoxin as well, and her body trembled a little. She knew that Zhang Xian had always viewed her as his student, and his feelings for her were not romantic in nature. So when she heard that the other party had come to ask for her hand in marriage, she had been surprised. It had been like a dream come true for her. But she did not dare harbor any expectations about it. She had thought that it might have been a mistake, so she had kept urging her elder brother to verify the matter for her. And the moment that she saw Luo Ruoxin, she immediately understood everything. Could it be that Zhang Xian had thought that she was actually Luo Ruoxin? Could it be that the person whom Zhang Xian truly loved was the master teacher of the Hongyuan Empire, Luo Shi? Otherwise, what could her words about Fire Source City and the Qiuwu Palace possibly mean? Luo Qiqi felt as if a knife had plunged deep into her heart. All of the bliss that she had felt receded like water flowing through her hand. She found herself completely helpless as despair encroached on her. There was nothing she could do but tremble powerlessly as the tragedy unfolded before her eyes. Using the dimension silencer to seal her cultivation had come with many flaws. A huge portion of her memory had been locked away in the sealing process as well, and it could only be recovered after her cultivation reached a certain level. Despite that, there was no doubt that this young man was the first person to have walked into her heart, and this had not changed even with her memories unlocked. Her feelings for him remained as vivid as before. She had been born with great talent, and those around her expected great things from her. She had always tried to meet their expectations, but meeting him had made her realize that such a life was not what she truly wanted. The time spent with him had given rise to a very simple yet faraway dream for her. She wished that the person she loved would one day marry her with blessings from the entire world. Everything had been perfect. The person she loved had come to propose to her, and the entire world had pretty much come to offer their blessings for her marriage. Yet, everything beyond had veered off course. It was no wonder Zhang Xian had refused to accept her feelings. forcefully changing the conversation to turn her down subtly. It turned out that he already had someone whom he fancied then, and the both of them had already gotten together. Otherwise, there was no way Luo Shi would have rushed in at this moment and uttered those words. As this thought came to mind, a tear flowed down Luo Qiqi's cheek. You said that you would wait for me. You said that no matter how difficult it would be, we would eventually be together. Ignoring the gazes from the surroundings, Luo Ruoxin gazed at Zhang Xian with eyes reminiscent of an inferno, as if wanting to bore a hole through this man and peer into his heart. Due to her birth, she had never dared devote her feelings to anyone. She could not afford to allow herself to be vulnerable. She had always maintained an icy cold exterior before others, and it had protected her well until the frost in her heart had slowly been thawed by the young man before her. In Xiaowu Palace, he had sworn that he would be with her no matter how much suffering and pain he had to go through, and his vow had convinced her to take a leap of faith this once to pursue this uncertain future with him. Yet in just a few short months, she had found that he was actually going to marry another woman. Was this all his feelings for her amounted to? Ruoxin, this is a misunderstanding. Seeing Luo Ruoxin's state, Zhang Xian panicked. I thought that you were the little princess of the Luo clan. What? Luo Ruoxin was caught off guard by the unexpected response. You never told me your real identity, but those around me told me time and time again that you are the little princess of the Luo clan. I thought that given your surname and the strength you wield, that would be the case. Zhang Xian felt as if his scalp was exploding. He had no idea how he should explain the situation to the other party. To fail to recognize even his own girlfriend, that was simply courting death. But back then, Ruoxin had left without saying a word or explaining anything at all. And if one had to think of a person who wielded such tremendous strength at such a young age, it could only have been the little princess of the Luo clan. It was not that he had never tried to verify this matter himself, but when he tried to do so, he had realized that he did not even know Luo Ruoxin's real name. Thus, he could only clutch on desperately to this clue that he had, or else he would have been completely lost. And the affairs afterward only further confirmed his suspicion. An elder of the Luo clan sought him to warn him against getting close to the little princess of the Luo clan. And shortly after, the little princess of the Luo clan also declared her feelings for him. More importantly, out of some sheer coincidence, he had actually never met with the little princess of the Luo clan to date. Luo Ruoxin stared at Zhang Xian intently, wanting to see if the young man before her was speaking the truth. After a long while, she sighed deeply and said, I can't tell you my true identity for the time being. Come with me. I'll bring you somewhere else. Somewhere else? Where? Seeing that Luo Ruoxin was giving him a chance to explain, Zhang Xian heaved a sigh of relief. You'll know once we get there, Luo Ruoxin replied before turning to leave. All right. Zhang Xian hesitated for a brief instant before taking a step forward, intending to leave together with her. After his huge botch-up, if he did not leave with Luo Ruoxin right now, they might very well never meet again in the future. Wait a moment. Barely after taking 2 steps, a figure suddenly stood in Zhang Xian's path, Luo Xianqing. The young man was trembling with sheer rage, reminiscent of a volcano that would erupt at any moment. Zhang Xian, what are you doing right now? Who is that person over there? Brother Luo, I have to. Zhang Xian hesitated for a moment before replying, but before he could finish his words, a punch was already smashing right for his face. Hula! This punch harnessed Luo Xuanqing's full strength, such that even space warped before his might. Brother Luo! Zhang Xian exclaimed as he took a step back. Don't call me your brother, I am unworthy of it. Luo Xianqing bellowed as he charged toward Zhang Xian, seemingly reluctant to rest until he finally reduced the person before him into meat paste. This is actually, while dodging the attacks, Zhang Xian tried to explain the matter to Luo Xianqing, but he had no idea where he should start. It was only because he had thought that Luo Ruoxin was the little princess of the Luo clan that he agreed to the marriage. So many esteemed guests had come to witness the ceremony, yet he wanted to turn around and leave at this crucial moment, all because he had recognized the wrong person. This was as good as viciously trampling on the Luo clan's pride. There was no one who could accept such a thing. Stop hiding. If you are a man, face me straight on in a battle. Either you give me a satisfactory explanation here, or you'll have to step over my dead body when you leave. Luo Xianqing bellowed furiously as he continued his assault. As if 6 more arms had sprouted out of his body, he launched powerful punches one after another. Despite being only at St. 8 Dan primary stage, the might that he exerted was actually on par with the dimension-sundering realm pinnacle expert. Brother Luoi, Zhang Xian tried to explain as he retreated. Enough. I told you not to address me as Brother Luo. Seeing that his attacks were not reaching the other party, Luo Xianqing gritted his teeth furiously. In the next moment, his strength swiftly surged to an unbelievable level. Bloodline ability. Luo Xianqing had actually activated his bloodline ability, without much hesitation. Sila. Before long, Luo Xuanqing's strength had risen to a level comparable to St. 9 Dan primary stage cultivators. He swiftly whipped out a sword and continued his frenzied assault against Zhang Xian. His sword art was far stronger than the barrage of fists that he had launched previously, and his swings tore right through space, creating spatial rifts one after another in the air. In the first place, the Luo clan was skilled in spatial manipulation, and Luo Xianqing had activated his bloodline ability at that. The prowess that he exerted was so fearsome that even a macrocosm ascendancy realm pinnacle cultivator would have trouble coping under his furious assault. However, even though Zhang Xian was only at macrocosm ascendancy realm primary stage, his fighting prowess was already on par with great sage 1 Dan experts. With nimble movements, he managed to dodge Luo Xuanqing's sword perfectly. Brother Luo, I know that I have done your Luo clan a great injustice this time around, and rest assured that I will definitely give you a satisfactory explanation in the future. There's no need for you explain anything anymore. Today only one of us will leave here alive. Hong Long. With frightening momentum, Luo Xianqing continued hacking down on Zhang Xian with his sword. His sword severed the fabric of the surrounding space, and after several strikes, his attack culminated to form a spatial storm. If hitting me will make you feel any better, do it then. Seeing that it was impossible to converse with Luo Xianqing, Zhang Xian eventually came to a halt, choosing not to dodge anymore. In the first place, this matter was his fault. Puha! Luo Xuanqing's sword pierced right through Zhang Xian's shoulder, creating a gaping hole. Fresh blood trickled down to the floor. Die! After piercing through Zhang Xian's shoulder, Luo Xianqing twisted his blade, intending to tear Zhang Xian in two. But barely after twisting the blade, he suddenly felt his entire body freezing in place, as if some kind of compelling might was shackling him down, preventing him from moving. He's the man that I Luo Ruoxin love. I would like to see which of you dares to hurt him. Boom! A powerful shockwave burst forth from Luo Ruoxin, and Luo Xianqing was forced to retreat continuously. At the same time, the sword in his grasp also flew into the horizon, disappearing without a trace. Audacious! Men, take that demoness down. Seeing that the young lady had actually made a move on Luo Xianqing, the head of the Luo clan also swiftly understood what was going on, and with a wrathful look on his face, he bellowed furiously. If the young lady really took Zhang Xian away with her, their Luo clan would become the laughingstock of the entire continent. Yes, voila! After those words were spoken, several dozen Luo clan's elders rose into the air and surrounded Luo Ruoxin and the adolescent boy beside her. No, not expecting things to turn out like that, Zhang Xian panicked. However, when he tried to make a move, he felt something constricting his body. He quickly turned around and saw that 2 elders of the Luo clan had sealed the space around him. He immediately tried to activate the power of Kong Shi's blood droplet in his hand, but he found himself unable to close his hand to touch the blood droplet, thus rendering him unable to activate it. Demoness, since you have dared come here today, why don't you allow our Luo clan to give you a warm welcome? Harumphing coldly, Luo Qingchen flicked his finger furiously, shooting a burst of sword chi forth. At this moment, the young lady had already reverted to her usual cold and lofty demeanor. Gazing at the elders around her, She was just about to make a move when the adolescent boy beside her took a step forward and said, "Milady, please allow me to handle these lowly beings. You mustn't dirty your hands over them." Luo Ruoxin nodded before placing her hands behind her back, not moving at all. It was as if the attack from the first elder of the Luo clan could not even catch her eye. Not expecting the other party to be so arrogant, Luo Qingchen felt blood rushing to his head in fury. He pumped even more energy into his sword qi, causing it to glow menacingly in the air as it sliced through the space in its pathway. Just as it was about to land on Luo Ruoxin, the adolescent boy suddenly walked up with a smile and grabbed the burst of sword qi in between his fingers. Puh! The burst of sword qi exploded. After dissipating Luo Qingchen's sword qi, the adolescent boy raised his palm and spat. Grovel! In an instant, Luo Qingchen felt as if the world was shaking around him, causing him to be unable to balance himself. If not for him exerting all of his strength to balance himself, he might have fallen right from the sky. Attack him together! Luo Qingchen barked out a command. Despite the young appearance of the adolescent boy, there was no doubt that the other party was a formidable expert. It would be foolish to underestimate the other party after what had just happened. The elders in the area also realized that the adolescent boy was far stronger than he appeared, after seeing the powerful first elder meeting a setback while clashing with the adolescent boy. Without any hesitation, they charged forth simultaneously. Even the weakest of the dozens of elders was at St. Nine Dan, and their powers rained down on the adolescent boy and Luo Ruoxin like rapid rain. In the blink of an eye, a spherical light barrier formed around the two of them. The area around the spherical barrier was pitch black, a sign that the surrounding space had been torn to shreds by the very emergence of the barrier. Within the barrier, a fearsome spatial storm raged, such that even Pinnacle Saint artifacts would be swiftly reduced to dust before its might. It's the Luo clan's demon-subduing sphere. Even I wouldn't be able to last long within it, Yang Shi remarked grimly. Individually, these elders came nowhere close to being a match for him. However, when their prowess was put together, it would be truly foolish to underestimate the might that they could exert. Even a sempiternal realm cultivator, like Yang Shi, would be unable to withstand its prowess. Interesting. The adolescent boy showed no signs of panic against the attack. He stretched his fingers outward, and they seemed to transform into the meandering branches of a tree as they struck specific points in the air. The surrounding space immediately swayed unstably, reminiscent of a rock being thrown into a calm lake. Under the intense swaying of the surrounding space, the prowess of the spherical light barrier was diverted upward into the sky before vanishing without a trace. This is spatial interference? Just what kind of level has that adolescent boy reached? Yang Shi exclaimed in shock. He had already been surprised by how the adolescent boy was able to withstand Luo Qingchen's attack, but who would have thought that he would be able to defend against the Luo clan's strongest demon-subduing sphere so easily by redirecting its might upward? Such a feat could only be described as terrifying. Spatial interference? What's that? Sword Saint Xing asked. Even he was unable to make sense out of the move that the adolescent boy had executed earlier. The demon-subduing sphere is a collaborative formation that an elder of the Luo clan has created. It serves to combine the might of 21 experts through overlapping 3 Big Dipper formations upon one another to channel their might into forming a dimensionally isolated spherical space. As this space exists in a different dimension from the one that we are in, it is impossible for ordinary cultivators to flee from it, and it would just be a matter of time before those trapped in the space are killed. It's due to this reason that I said that even I would be no match for it. At this point, Yang Shi's face grew incredibly grim as he continued. However, through simple taps, the adolescent boy was able to send ripples of spatial disturbance through the space, tearing it apart with ease. Using an analogy, the demon-subduing sphere could be described as a cloth with ants crawling on it. As long as one remains on the cloth, it will be impossible to avoid the ants. However, if one just jumps out of the cloth and flicks it, the ants will be diverted elsewhere, thus rendering their offense futile. This is basically how spatial interference works. Similarly, through stirring up the surrounding space, even the demon-subduing sphere won't pose a threat anymore. This, Sword Saint Xing's body jolted in astonishment. 4 great sage cultivators. Severing space did not pose much of a problem at all. But this spatial interference was clearly far more fearsome than simply severing space. For even the adolescent boy to be this formidable, just who in the world could the young lady whom his son fancied be? Forget it, I won't play with you all anymore. All of you grovel. After undoing the Luo clan's demon-subduing sphere with a single move, the adolescent boy chuckled and raised his palm once more. Voila! The next moment, Luo Qingchen and the other elders plummeted from the sky and crashed onto the ground. Their faces turned ghastly pale, and fresh blood spurted from their mouths. Activate the Guardian Formation, the head of the Luo clan bellowed. He had not thought that the 2 intruders would wield such frightening prowess. He flicked the token in his hand into the sky, and soon after, an intense energy disturbance rippled through the surroundings. Then, everything suddenly calmed down, as if nothing had happened at all. It might have seemed as if nothing had happened to weaker cultivators, but those who had gathered there were all top experts of the master-teacher continent, and they could clearly feel that a formidable formation had enveloped them, sealing the sky away from their reach. As a clan whose heritage could be traced back to tens of thousands of years ago, the Luo clan's Guardian Formation was truly formidable. Once it was activated, as long as one could not find the right way to decipher it, even an expert of Yang Shi's caliber could only remain trapped in it. The reason Zhang Xian had been able to easily escape from the Zhang clan's Guardian Formation back then was because he had been able to find its flaws easily through the Library of Heaven's Path. To him, formations were no different from a sheep stripped bare of its fleece, its secrets laid bare before him. But it was different for others. Most spatial arts could not be utilized within sealed spaces, thus reducing one's fighting prowess significantly. On top of that, the Guardian Formation was bound to have an offensive aspect to it, such that even sempiternal realm cultivators would fall into a fluster once they were trapped within it, making it difficult for them to escape. Seeing that even the collaboration of the many elders was insufficient to subdue the other party, the head of the Luo clan had decisively chosen to execute his trump card. So this is the Guardian Formation of the Luo clan. Not too shabby. However, you are still too naive if you think something of this level is sufficient to trap me. With a chuckle, the adolescent boy leaped into the sky. Slala! At the same time, the Luo clan's Guardian Formation began coiling innumerable spatial threads around the adolescent boy, intending to tear him into shreds. Faced against such an attack, the eyebrows of the adolescent shot up as he raised his hands to his side and pulled them down lightly. Boom! Astonishingly, the Luo clan's Guardian Formation collapsed without the slightest resistance under his pull. A devastating shockwave rippled into the surroundings as the spiritual energy in the Guardian Formation diffused into the surroundings. After dealing with the Luo clan's Guardian Formation, the adolescent boy placed his hands behind his back as he gazed down coldly on the crowd from the sky. What other means do you have? Throw everything at me at once. In an instant, complete silence devoured the surroundings. Everyone simply stared at the adolescent boy in the air with aghast expressions. The Guardian Formation of the Luo clan had stopped many experts in their tracks since the inception of the Luo clan. Innumerable assaults of the otherworldly demonic tribe had been foiled by its formidable prowess. Yet, it did not even last a single second against a small adolescent boy. How was that possible? Just what realm had the adolescent boy reached? The experts in the area could not help but gulp in shock, unable to believe what they were seeing. Have any of you seen that person before? Under normal circumstances, a person as powerful as that lad couldn't possibly have remained unknown. So why do I have no impression of him at all? I have never seen him before either. It's as if he's appeared out of nowhere. If even the adolescent boy is this powerful, I can't begin to imagine how strong the young lady must be. Just who in the world is she? The clan heads of the sage clans subconsciously backed away, fearing that they would be implicated in this conflict. To the eyes of ordinary cultivators, these clan heads represented the top fighting prowess of the master-teacher continent, but even they did not dare stand against an expert of this caliber. They had no doubt that the adolescent boy would be able to claim their lives with a single flick of his finger. It would be utter foolishness to stand against such an opponent. Without a doubt, they were severely outmatched. Seeing how the adolescent boy had been able to overcome the collaboration of the many elders and tear apart the Luo clan's guardian formation so easily, the head of the Luo clan's face flickered with rage and fear. After a moment of silence, he turned around and clasped his fist. Young Shi, I beseech you to lend us your help in this matter. The Luo clan still had its final trump card, but it should only be used in times of absolute emergency. As such, the head of the Luo clan could only place his hopes on Yang Shi. Of course, there's no way I can simply turn a blind eye to this matter, Yang Shi said as he turned his gaze to the sky. How could I be oblivious to the existence of an expert of your caliber on the continent? I really must be growing old. As he said those words, he slowly took step after step upward. His movements were very slow, but with every step that he took, an inconspicuous glow emanated from his feet. At the same time, the space that he trod on seemed to grow even stabler, seemingly reinforced by some mysterious energy. The adolescent boy was initially unfazed by Yang Shi's provocation, but watching as the latter slowly walked over, his eyebrows knitted together into a frown. Who are you? You aren't from the Luo clan, are you? The Luo clan doesn't have an expert of your caliber. I am Yang Xian. Yang Shi clasped his fist. Yang Xian of the Master-Teacher Pavilion headquarters? The adolescent boy widened his eyes in realization. He clasped his fist in reciprocation and said, This is a problem between Milady and the Luo clan, so I ask you not to interfere in this matter. The Master-Teacher Pavilion is responsible for maintaining order on the continent. You have chosen to wreak havoc in the Luo clan at an important occasion like this, completely disregarding the dignity of everyone here. I might be getting on in my years, but it's still my responsibility as a master teacher to stop you. Yang Shi replied coldly. Since you aren't going to back down, make your move then. Let me see how powerful the rumored #1 expert of the master-teacher continent is. The adolescent boy spat coldly. He crossed his arms, ready to make his next move, but at this moment, a nonchalant voice sounded beside him. Enough, stand down, Luo Ruoxin instructed. Yes, milady. Not daring to say a second word, the adolescent boy quickly retracted his palm and returned to his position behind Luo Ruoxin. At the same time, perhaps out of apprehension for Luo Ruoxin's strength, upon seeing the adolescent boy backing away, Yang Xian also stepped back and fell silent. Luo Ruoxin swept her gaze across the crowd, and after seeing that no one else was going to make a move, she turned to Zhang Xian and said, Zhang Xian, let's go. The next moment, Zhang Xian felt the restraints on his body being released. Seeing that the adolescent boy had not killed anyone, Zhang Xian heaved a sigh of relief. He nodded in response to Luo Ruoxin's words, but he still could not help but turn around to face the beautiful young lady dressed in red behind him. Looking at her tear-stained cheeks, he felt a sharp ache in his heart. He walked up to her and said, Chi-Chi, I'm sorry. He really had no idea how he should express his apology toward this young lady. The engagement with the Zhang clan and the Luo clan was a huge matter on the master-teacher continent. Innumerable clan heads, powerful experts, and esteemed seniors had come to witness this momentous event, yet he was simply going to walk out of this. He knew that his actions would inflict grievous damage on the young lady, but he could not imagine a life without Luo Ruoxin, and he could not let Luo Ruoxin down. Why? Luo Chichi asked silently. In the eyes of outsiders, she was an unparalleled genius who had broken innumerable records. But those who knew her would know that she was simply an innocent little girl who lacked a sense of security. It was due to this that Luo Xianqing had constantly been looking out for her, fearing that she would be taken advantage of by others. Zhang Xian had no idea how he should respond to the young lady's question. It had never been his intention to hurt her, which was also why he had never rejected her confession directly. He had thought that their fate would have ended with her departure. But who could have thought that life had something like this in store for them? While trying not to harm her, he ended up inflicting the greatest damage upon her. After a long moment of silence, Zhang Xian spoke up. I always thought that you were the princess of the Baiyuan Empire. Back then, when they parted at the Qingyuan Empire, Yu Feier had said that the reason Luo Qiqi had been able to enroll into Hongyuan Master Teacher Academy back then was because of an insignia from the Baiyuan Empire's royalty, which left him thinking that Luo Qiqi was the princess of the Baiyuan Empire. Not even in his wildest dream would he have thought that Luo Qiqi had anything to do with the Luo clan. In order to hide my tracks from the Luo clan, I used the powers of the Dimension Silencer to seal my bloodline and cultivation. While I have assimilated the Dimension Silencer, I have yet to fully master it, so there are abilities that I'm still unable to fully control. As a result, not only did my cultivation fall to the transcendent mortal realm, some of my memories ended up being sealed too. I had to slowly raise his cultivation in order to unseal my memories once more. Luo Qiqi looked into the sky and said solemnly, that is also why I was unable to save you back in the underground cavern despite the danger we were in. Zhang Xian nodded. When he found out that Luo Qiqi was the little princess, he had already figured most of the story out. There were indeed some methods on the Master-Teacher continent that allowed a cultivator to seal their cultivation and bloodline. For example, Xiaoya's mother had sealed away her purine body and hidden herself away in the ancient domains. Afterward, she had married Xiaoya's father, and despite having been together for many years, no one was any the wiser of her true strength. As for the reason that Luo Qiqi had been in grade 2 back at the Hongyuan Master Teacher Academy, considering when she left the Sanctum of Sages, there was no way that she could have been in Hongyuan Master Teacher Academy for more than a year. However, Hongyuan Master Teacher Academy worked by a system where a student was promoted by their strength and master teacher rank, rather than the time that they had spent in the academy. Rational explanations could easily be found for most parts of Luo Qiqi's history, but there was just one doubt that he was unable to make sense of. The Luo clan's little princess possessed the discarnate constitution of divination, which should have made it impossible for him to use the Library of Heaven's path on her. At the very least, this was the reason he thought that the Library of Heaven's path did not work on Luo Ruoxin. However, he did use the Library of Heaven's path on Luo Qiqi, and a book had successfully been compiled on her. Yet, her true identity had not been detailed within the book. Could this mean that those who possessed the discarnate constitution of divination possessed the ability to fool and provide incorrect answers to the Library of Heaven's path? If that was really the case, that would be really fearsome. He would have to slowly search for the answer in the future, or else he could not fully believe the information provided by the Library of Heaven's path anymore. Back when I was still the little princess of the Luo clan, I did the royal family of the Baiyuan Empire a great favor. Even though I had sealed my cultivation, they were still more than willing to introduce me to the Hongyuan Master Teacher Academy as a 4-star master teacher. It was with such an identity that my clan was unable to find me easily. I had always been the center of attention from the moment I was born, and I know that many would love to be in the position I am in. But this is not what I wanted. All I wanted was an ordinary life, living my days out peacefully and happily. Luo Qiqi muttered with a desolate look on her face. Even though she had sealed her cultivation and bloodline, due to her past relationship with the royalty of the Baiyuan Empire, she had easily been able to convince them to do her a favor and recommend her to Hongyuan Master Teacher Academy. Furthermore, given her standing, the Baiyuan Empire had been more than willing to allow her to pass off as their princess. It was due to this convincing identity that she had been able to remain in the Hongyuan Empire for so long without anyone noticing. Even her close friend Yu Feier was oblivious to her true identity. In a sense, this was similar to how Zhang Xian passed himself off as Yang Shi's student. As long as one had a convincing cover, it would be unlikely for others to dig too deeply into one's identity. I told you before that there's someone whom I like, and that person is actually Luo Shi. All along, I thought that she was the little princess of the Luo clan. which resulted in this misunderstanding. Zhang Xian lowered his head as he spoke softly. He had to explain this matter properly to the young lady before him, or else the person who would be hurt would not only be her, but Luo Ruoxin as well. I guessed. Luo Qiqi nodded quietly before lowering her head, concealing the tears glistening in her eyes. Qiqi, I am sorry. Zhang Xian bowed deeply. He finally understood why she had been able to take out so many thousand-year-old medicinal herbs the very last time that they met, as well as why Luo Qingxin suddenly appeared before him shortly after she left. From the looks of it, it seemed like Luo Qingxin had found her in Qingyuan City, and aware of her impending departure, she had made use of the excuse of needing to practice her pill-forging techniques to gift those medicinal herbs to him. At this moment, he also recalled Luo Xianqing saying that his younger sister had high aptitude in most occupations, but somehow, when it came to pill forging, her talents seemed to fall flat. He had not thought too much about the matter back then, but everything seemed to fit like pieces of a puzzle to him now. That would also explain how a 5-star master teacher like her had been able to easily track down the underground cavern that Wu Yangzi had been locked in through the peculiar smithing method, when no one in the Hongyuan Empire had been able to. Even with a huge portion of her memories sealed, her instincts were still far beyond those of ordinary cultivators. That would also explain why she had been able to improve far quicker than Yu Feier, and even his direct disciples. Most likely, when she achieved a breakthrough to the Saint Realm in the Qingyuan Empire, the seal that she had placed on herself had begun to unravel, rendering it impossible for her to conceal her bloodline anymore. This had allowed Luo Qingxin to find her, eventually leading to this series of events. Lifting her eyes to take one final glance at the young man before her, Luo Qiqi decisively turned around, bellowing, "Scram! I never want to see you again." "Thank you." Understanding Luo Qiqi's intentions, Zhang Xian muttered softly before turning around and walking away. Nothing that he could say would mend the damage that he had done. Staying there would only worsen the other party's pain. "Where do you think you are going?" Voila! Barely after taking 2 steps, innumerable cold glints suddenly shimmered from the surroundings. The wounded elders of the Luo clan, along with Luo Xianqing, had drawn their blades, and every single one of them was glaring at Zhang Xian with wintry eyes. "Zhang Xian, if you dare walk away today, you will be an eternal enemy of the Luo clan. The relationship between the Zhang clan and the Luo clan will become irreconcilable." The head of the Luo clan roared furiously. "If you dare leave with that demoness, you'll become my sworn enemy. I, Luo Xianqing, swear that I'll devote my life to hunting you down and killing you." Luo Xianqing bellowed wrathfully. Zhang Xian's footsteps visibly halted for a brief moment, but he still chose to continue advancing toward Luo Ruoxin. "Die!" Seeing that Zhang Xian was still adamantly walking forward, Luo Xianqing flicked his palm and thrust it toward Zhang Xian. "Hold it right there." With a flick of his spear, Zheng Yang dissipated the force of Luo Xuanqing's palm strike. At the same time, Lu Chong, Wang Ying, and the others also quickly stood in between their teacher and the Luo clan. Progeny of Combat and Guild Leader Wang Ying, are you two planning to make enemies out of our Luo clan? The head of the Luo clan growled menacingly. Didn't your Luo clan's Luo Xianqing nearly take our teacher's life earlier? You should be glad that he failed. Know that I won't allow any of you to put our teacher's life in jeopardy anymore. If you wish to harm even a single strand of my teacher's hair, you'll have to step over my dead body. Zheng Yang glared down at the crowd of the Luo clan intimidatingly. Anyone who intends harm to our teacher will be our enemy. Wang Ying and Lu Chong stepped forward as well. The auras emanated by the 3 of them towered, as if an unscalable mountain. The elders who had intended to make a move earlier were forced to stop in their footsteps, not daring to move at all. They could not have cared less about the enmity between the Zhang clan and the Luo clan. But anyone who dared lay their hands on their teacher would be their enemy. Well said. Sword Saint Meng stepped forward and swung her sword threateningly too. My son will have my full support no matter what he does. If you intend to hurt him, don't even expect my blade to take mercy on you. You, The head of the Luo clan's face turned red with rage. He immediately turned his gaze toward Sword Saint Xing and questioned sharply. Is this your intention too? Sword Saint Xing was put on the spot. The marriage between the two clans should have been happy news. But who could have thought that it would end in such a state? Seeing Sword Saint Xing's hesitation, Sword Saint Meng roared furiously. Zhang Jinxing, you have already sacrificed your son once. If you make him suffer any more grievances, I'll take my son and leave the Zhang clan immediately for a place where you will never find us. This, Sword Saint Xing scratched his head in embarrassment before clasping his fist toward the head of the Luo clan and bowing. My apologies, clan head Luo, but I'll have to side with my own son. As he said those words, he went over and stood beside Sword Saint Meng. It was not just because he was afraid of his wife, but also because he was painfully aware of the fact that he was indebted to his son. Good. Very good. It seems like all of you are intending to sever relations with our Luo clan today. The head of the Luo clan ground his teeth and roared with seething fury. Since that's the case, elders of the Luo clan, heed my orders. Seal the shrouding ethereal city and prevent any one of the Zhang clan from escaping. Yes, clan head. Walala. Upon receiving their orders, the elders of the Luo clan immediately moved to seal the surrounding space, such that even teleportation formations were rendered ineffective. Seeing that the Luo clan had chosen to make a move, one of the elders of the Zhang clan bellowed in response. Disciples of the Zhang clan, bear arms and protect your clan head. Since both clans had already fallen out, there was no need for them to put up a front anymore. If a battle was inevitable, the Zhang clan would not go down without a fight. If I knew that this would happen, I never would have come to this engagement ceremony. No one could have thought that the two clans, which had been chummy with one another a moment ago, would suddenly fall out in the blink of an eye. The clan heads of the other sage clans watched the situation hesitantly by the side, not knowing what they should do. Helping the Luo clan would mean offending the Zhang clan, and vice versa. But they could not afford to offend either of these two powers. From the looks of it, it seemed like this matter would not end well. Stop. Seeing that a battle would break out at any moment, a sharp voice echoed across the entire city. The next moment, the little princess of the Luo clan, Luo Qiqi, stepped forward. Wang, a spherical artifact materialized in her hand, and with a slight jolt, the sealed space immediately shattered apart, reverting to its original form. The Dimension Silencer, the ultimate treasure of the Luo clan. Its very presence carried an inviolable authority that made others not dare face it. Yusen, taken aback by his daughter's actions, the head of the Luo clan panicked. Little sister. Luo Xianqing was also uncomprehending of his younger sister's actions. Father, elder brother and elders, I hope that you can allow me to deal with my own matters. Luo Qiqi clasped her fist. Seeing his daughter's determined gaze, the head of the Luo clan's fury dissolved into tenderness. Forget it. If you suffer the slightest grievance, make sure to tell me. I might be getting old, but I haven't grown senile. I won't allow others to bully my daughter. Thank you, father. Luo Qiqi nodded. She turned her gaze toward Zhang Xian, and with a pleading look in her eyes she said, Teacher, you once told me that you would redress my grievances for me if someone bullied me. Do those words still count? Zhang Xian was stunned, not knowing how he should respond. Those were the words that he had told her when they parted at Qingyuan City. But who could have thought that this would happen instead? When the one who had bullied her was him, how was he supposed to redress her grievances? I'm the one who did you wrong, Qiqi. Zhang Xian paused for a moment before saying, Let's nullify the engagement between the Zhang clan and the Luo clan. You will no longer be bound by the restraints of your engagement. You will finally be able to live your life freely. He could not redress her grievances anymore, and the only thing that he could do was nullify the engagement and set her free. You are nullifying the engagement between the two of us. Luo Qiqi shook her head. She stared into the distance with glazed eyes as a bitter smile spread upon her lips. Those that I hold dear will not necessarily be with me for life. Just like the broken artifact back then. No matter what I do, it can just never be the same anymore. You might be granting me the freedom I seek, but if that means that the person I love will leave me, never to return again. Teacher, you also know that I'm an obstinate person. I disagree to the nullification of our engagement. Why do you have to do this to yourself? Zhang Xian looked at the young lady with a pained expression. If you announce the nullification of our engagement, your Luo clan will at least be able to preserve its dignity and honor. I know it. But my heart doesn't allow me to do so. Luo Qiqi cried. If she proposed the nullification of their engagement, while this matter would still be a huge stain on the Luo clan's history, it would at least preserve their reputation and honor. However, that would also mean extinguishing the final flicker of hope that they could be together. It was simply too cruel for her to make such a decision. She had put all of her heart into this relationship, only to meet with such an ending. She could not accept it, and she did not want to accept it either. You should know that there's no other way out of this, Zhang Xian said. Since the person that he had chosen was Luo Ruoxin, he had to nullify the engagement. Otherwise, he would only be further hurting everyone around him. Luo Qiqi turned around and said, Then, you should be the one to do it. I'm sorry. Knowing that Luo Qiqi would not be able to do it, Zhang Xian tossed his clan head token into the air and declared, I, Zhang Xian, in my capacity as the head of the Zhang clan, hereby announce the nullification of my marriage with the little princess of the Luo clan. This nullification stems from my own problem, and I am unworthy to take her as my wife. Those words reverberated across space, causing the air to tremor. Yusen. Upon hearing those words, the head of the Luo clan widened his eyes in shock. At the same time, Luo Xianqing also glared at Zhang Xian, as if he was facing his sworn enemy. Even with Zhang Xian's clarification, the world would not remain oblivious to the truth. Word would spread, and the reputation of the Luo clan would inevitably be sullied. Pavilion Master Run. I have already made up my mind. I'll have to trouble the Master Teacher Pavilion to relay my declaration to the world word for word. Zhang Xian took back his clan head token before clasping his fist toward Ren Qingyuan to make that request. The fastest way to disseminate the news would be through the Master Teacher Pavilion. I understand, Zhang Shi. Ren Qingyuan nodded. When it came to relationships, no matter how one tried, it was impossible for everyone to be happy. There would never be a clear right or wrong. Qiqi, take care of yourself. Having done that, Zhang Xian took one last glance at the forlorn back of the young lady before walking away. The elders of the Luo clan wanted to stop him, but looking at the dimension silencer floating in the air, they had no choice but to hold themselves back. Teacher. Barely after taking a few steps, the young lady's voice sounded once more. Zhang Xian stopped in his tracks and slowly turned around to look at the young lady's back. It was a long while before the young lady spoke once more. Will you still teach me pill forging in the future? Of course, Zhang Xian nodded. I'll teach you whatever you want to learn. As always, I would ask for those who have read the Ross or heard spoilers not to post future content in the comment section, because it really ruins immersion. If you have read the Ross or looked up spoilers, I'm sure you do have some love for this book. So please don't kill it through posting spoilers here. There are other more appropriate places to post and ask for spoilers. Even if I could delete comments, it would be hard for me to distinguish between legitimate theories and spoilers. So I can only appeal to your goodwill not to post spoilers, as well as the community to denounce those who spoil the story and not give a thumbs up to their comments. Author's note: the 11th arc, Zhang Xian breaks the engagement, hereby comes to an end. The confession from Qiqi was designed in accordance to a song that I really liked half a year ago, by Xiao Quan. The idea that my feelings for you don't just stop at the level of like, but I can't find the answer I am seeking for in your eyes. Each time that song plays on the car radio, I couldn't help but think of the second female lead of that drama and cry. For this character, I have cried many times. Anyway, let the curtain unfold on the next arc. Finale at the Master Teacher Pavilion. In the next arc, Zhang Xian shall become a great sage realm expert and stand at the top of the continent. Anyway, with this arc coming to an end, pour in your power stones, and let's secure the top spot together. The crowd from the Zhang clan flew out of the shrouding ethereal city. Looking at the majestic buildings beneath, Zhang Xian could not help but feel as if he had just been through a dream. He knew that he had really hurt that kind young lady this time around, but there was no way that he could dictate his emotions. If he forced himself to act against his will, he would only end up hurting everyone in the end. Rather than resorting to that, it would be better for him to end it decisively. It would be difficult at first, but once the young lady was able to let him go, she would be able to seek the true happiness that she deserved. Luo Ruoxin glanced over and asked, "You can't bear it?" Zhang Xian shook his head and said, "This misunderstanding only happened because I thought that you were the little princess of the Luo clan. It's all right, I understand. You don't have to explain anymore." Luo Ruoxin nodded as she reverted to her usual nonchalance. I can still discern the truth. Seeing that Luo Ruoxin had chosen to trust him, Zhang Xian heaved a sigh of relief. "You said that you would bring me somewhere. Where are we going?" "You were investigating the kidnapping of Zhaoye, Wei Ruyan, and Yuan Tao, right?" Luo Ruoxin asked with a smile. Zhang Xian's eyes lit up. "You know where they are?" "I don't know where they are, but I have a good idea who the culprits that took them away are," Luo Ruoxin replied. "Who are they?" Zhang Xian asked with clenched fists. He would never forgive those who dared to make a move on his students. If he could just find out who the culprits were, he would never let them go. "I still can't confirm their background yet, but one of the reasons I came to find you is to stop them," Luo Ruoxin said. "Stop them? Are they still intending to abduct more people?" Zhang Xian asked with narrowed eyes. "That's not it. They are looking for a certain object," Luo Ruoxin explained. "Most likely, it's a celestial amulet of legacy. They are really eyeing the Temple of Confucius." Zhang Xian harumphed coldly. It seemed like it was really the doing of the otherworldly demonic tribe, just as he had thought. It might get troublesome if there are too many people around, so it'll be best if your clan members do not come along. While Zheng Yang and Lu Chong are considerably powerful, the place that we are heading to will be quite dangerous, so my view is that it would be best not to bring them along for the time being, Luo Ruoxin said. The more people around, the more likely that they would be detected by the culprits. Furthermore, if anyone was caught by the culprits in the midst of the operation, that person would likely be used as a hostage against them. Sword Saint Meng also came to a realization. I was thinking that Xian'er was too short-sighted to have given up on a watermelon for a sesame seed. But since she's an offspring of the 100 schools of philosophers, I can rest easy now. After saying those words, a gleeful smile emerged on her lips. The marriage with the Luo clan should have been the most perfect ending. Not only would it have widened the Zhang clan's influence, it also would have propped her son up to the top of the master-teacher continent in an instant, granting him strength to stand against even the master-teacher pavilion headquarters. However, since her son did not like it, there was nothing that she could do. She owed her son simply too much, so the least she could do was allow him to pursue his own happiness. Nevertheless, she still understood that this was a great loss to the Zhang clan, considering that they had made enemies out of the Luo clan. However, who would have thought that this mishap would actually end up drawing connections with the powerful 100 schools of philosophers instead? If that's truly the case, not only did the Zhang clan not make a loss, its future growth potential had also become unlimitedly great. Can feelings even be measured using gains and losses? Seeing his wife's response, Sword Saint Xing was rendered speechless. The marriage between the Zhang clan and the Luo clan should have provided us with the key to opening the Temple of Confucius, but with the fallout with the Luo clan, we won't be able to break the seal anymore. Not only have the plans of the Master-Teacher Pavilion fallen through, the safety of mankind could very well be at risk. As Sword Saint Xing spoke, a hint of jealousy seemed to seep into his voice. Ever since his son had appeared, his position in the family seemed to have been falling lower and lower. It was one thing for him to be scolded every single day, but to think that he would end up having to fuss over minor matters, such as his son's future wife, instead of conferring over major matters that affected the safety of mankind. Really, just how low had he fallen? Why should my son be sacrificed for the rest of the world? There are plenty of people out there to think about the Temple of Confucius anyway. All I hope is for my son to live his life happily and peacefully. Sword Saint Meng waved her hands indifferently. Narrow-minded. Sword Saint Xing harumphed coldly. Zhang Jinxing, I dare you to repeat those words. Sword Saint Meng flew into a rage. All right. While the Temple of Confucius has started to surface, it seems like there's still some time before it truly appears, Yang Shi said. My senior should still have time to mend the relations between both clans. Furthermore, judging from the little princess attitude, it seems like she still harbors deep feelings for my senior. As long as we explain the matter properly to her, I think she should be willing to go along with us. While things had not gone very well, as long as the little princess did not harbor that deep a grudge toward Zhang Xian and the Zhang clan, there should still be some room for reconciliation. Besides, the predecessors of the Luo clan had also made many sacrifices to protect mankind, which showed that they were not narrow-minded people who would allow personal grudges to get in the way of important matters. While they had been humiliated by Zhang Xian's actions, when the safety of mankind was at stake, they would still be likely to swallow their grudges temporarily and grudgingly collaborate with the rest of them. Yang Shi is right. Later on, I'll try to talk to my son about this matter. It's nothing much for a man to take several wives at once, and if it really comes down to it, he could just marry the little princess of the Luo clan as well. The young lady is quite a beauty anyway. More importantly, she has quite a bottom, which means that she's suited to bear children. Regardless of whether it's Luo Ruoxin or Luo Qiqi, wouldn't it be good to take all of them in? That would be a happy ending, right? Sword Saint Meng nodded. Of course, dear. It's nothing much for a man to take several wives, so having 2 wives is not too big a deal. Sword Saint Xing nodded in agreement. Having 2 wives is not too big a deal. Zhang Jinxing, are you planning to take in another woman? Sword Saint Meng sneered as she glared at Sword Saint Xing murderously. I'm referring to our son. As if plunged into an icy cavern, Sword Saint Xing felt his hair raising on end. I really am not talking about myself. Save me. I'll never dare to say such words in the future again. Yes, you're right. No, I won't even think of it anymore. Please don't kill this book by posting spoilers. Standing atop the back of an aerial saint beast, while gazing at the white clouds that were swiftly flitting past them, Luo Ruoxin explained. The place that we are heading to is the Empire Alliance's White Stream Mountain. White Creek Mountain? Zhang Xian's body jolted in astonishment. I know that place. That was the name of the mountain range that had appeared on Qingtian Emperor's painting. He had seen Kong Shi's illusory figure on the mountain range, and in order to conceal the truth from the Qingtian Emperor, he had altered it into a picture of bathing beauties. He had learned its name from Luo Xianqing a while back, but with too many matters on hand, he had not had a chance to check on it yet. Could it be that the illusory figure of Kong Shi actually hinted at the location of a celestial amulet of legacy? There might just be such a possibility, or else it would not have compelled the entire Qingtian lineage, and even vicious to risk exposing themselves for it. Since we know the location, why don't we just teleport right over? It would be faster that way, Zhang Xian suggested. There's no need for that. Luo Ruoxin replied with a smile. It would be too troublesome to travel there through teleportation, and it isn't safe either. Wu Chun. Yes. The adolescent boy nodded. He walked up to the window and tapped his finger lightly on it. Hula! The surrounding air suddenly began warping frenziedly, and spatial folds appeared all around. Before long, a massive vortex was formed around them. As the vortex spun faster and faster, the area that it covered grew larger and larger. Very soon, the eye of the vortex formed a stable white region. The aerial saint beast beneath them seemed to be accustomed to such a situation. Flapping its wings, it dived right for the middle of the vortex. This is spatial compression. A look of disbelief surfaced on Zhang Xian's face. It was said that those who had mastered space would be able to compress it infinitely, allowing one to traverse over 1,000 li with a single step. He had thought that it was just a legend, but who could have thought that the adolescent boy would be able to pull it off so easily? It isn't spatial compression but the exploitation of a unique trait of space, the adolescent boy explained nonchalantly. The space that we see appears to be stable and impeccable, such that even our spiritual perception can't notice any anomalies in it. However, there are inherent wormholes weaved into it that can be utilized to swiftly leap from one location to another. I see. Zhang Xian could roughly grasp the concept, but it sounded a little far away to him. Even though he had learned the heavenly art of dimension unravel, he had only reached a mastery of 3 dan in it. There was still some way off before he could reach the top. Spatial leap is a technique that only ancient sages are able to utilize. Wuxia is only able to pull it off due to the unique bloodline of the Saint Beast and his deep comprehension of space, Luo Ruoxin added. I see. Zhang Xian nodded. At this point, he could not resist asking out of curiosity. Given how young Wuxia is, how can he wield such formidable strength? No matter how he looked at the adolescent boy, the latter appeared to be only around 13 to 14. Yet, the boy already possessed strength that he could only match while using Kong Shi's blood essence. This was inconceivable to him. Even if the adolescent boy was a Khanate saint, causing his body to age much slower than others, it was hard to imagine him achieving such strength within a short period of time. Wuxia looks younger than he actually is due to his unique bloodline, Luo Ruoxin explained with a shake of her head. Not intending to linger too long on this topic, she pointed to the area ahead and said, "We've arrived." Looking ahead, Zhang Xian realized that the aerial Saint Beast that they were on had already traversed through the passageway, and a majestic mountain range had appeared around him. The mountains around him pierced right through the layers of clouds, and they spanned a vast area around him. The imposing scale of the mountain range felt incredibly pressurizing, leaving one's breathing a little ragged. It's the White Creek Mountain, Zhang Xian remarked grimly. This was indeed the mountain range that he was depicted on the painting of the copper-masked figure back then. They would have been identical if not for the real mountain range being even more towering and imposing. A celestial amulet of legacy is within the mountain range. I'm not too sure about its exact location at the moment, but we can check using a unique artifact. As Luo Ruoxin spoke, she flicked her wrist in the air, and a book materialized in front of her. This book carried an aura that left one with a dreamy feeling. Looking at it curiously, Zhang Xian was just about to ask what it was when he suddenly sensed something. He quickly flicked his wrist, and a crystal sphere materialized in his hand. This crystal sphere was none other than the Qiuwu Palace. That was the ancient domain left behind by Kong Shi's follower, ancient sage Qiuwu. He had entered its premises with Luo Ruoxin previously, and it had also been the location where they confirmed their relationship. At this moment, the Qiuwu Palace was shaking non-stop, as if it was resonating in harmony to the book that Luo Ruoxin had taken out. This, Zhang Xian frowned doubtfully. As the master of the Qiuwu Palace, he could clearly feel that the book before him had come from the same origin as the crystal sphere. There was an inseparable connection between the two of them. I acquired this book from the Qiuwu Palace. Using it, we will be able to find the exact location of the celestial amulet of legacy. Luo Ruoxin answered the doubts in Zhang Xian's mind. However, that only left Zhang Xian even more taken aback. He had been together with the young lady in the Qiuwu Palace. So why was he unaware that she had acquired such a book? There were rumors that the Qiuwu Palace contained a clue to finding the celestial amulet of legacy, so he had searched the entire place multiple times, only to be unable to find the supposed clue. Who could have thought that it was already in her hands? The reason I wanted to enter the Qiuwu Palace was to find this item. Do you remember how I wandered freely for quite a while after entering the Qiuwu Palace? It was during that period of time that I found this book, Luo Ruoxin explained. I see. Zhang Xian nodded. To be honest, he had found it bizarre how the young lady had insisted on entering the Qiuwu Palace with him, only to refuse all treasures, cultivation technique manuals, and the like. Not to mention, she had even helped him assimilate the entire Qiuwu Palace. So it turned out that she had already acquired what she had been looking for. Wang. While the two of them were speaking, a light hum sounded from the book, as it began surging toward the top of the mountain. Let's follow it. The two of them quickly followed the movements of the book, so as to not lose sight of it. Not too long later, just when they were roughly at the midpoint of the mountain, the book finally came to an abrupt halt. This is the place. Zhang Xian swiftly cast a sweeping gaze over the surroundings before nodding slowly. This was indeed the exact spot on the painting, where he had altered Kong Shi's silhouette for the bathing beauties. It would be too much of a coincidence for the two clues to point to the same point by sheer coincidence. Chances were that there was a folded space somewhere here that would lead them to an ancient domain where the celestial amulet of legacy was hidden. It's good enough that we have confirmed the location. If my intuition fails me not, the culprits who have captured Zhaoye, Wei Ruyan, and Yuan Tao should be heading here very soon. With a wave of her hand, Luo Ruoxin placed the book back into her storage ring before standing patiently on the spot, not anxious about finding the hidden folded space at all. The Zhang clan, Luo clan, and the Master Teacher Pavilion have a celestial amulet of legacy each. Are you certain that the culprits will come here instead? Zhang Xian asked doubtfully. If the goal of the culprits was to open the Temple of Confucius, they were already halfway there with the capture of Zhaoye and the others. It was a known fact that the Master Teacher Pavilion headquarters, the Zhang clan, and the Luo clan had a celestial amulet of legacy each, so those three powers should have been the primary targets for the culprits. Furthermore, it should have been impossible to find this location without the map from the Qingtian Emperor, or the book in Luo Ruoxin's possession. Please don't kill this book by posting spoilers. It's stated in the records of the Master Teacher Pavilion that there are 6 celestial amulets of legacy. However, that isn't entirely correct. Instead of responding to Zhang Xian's question directly, Luo Ruoxin began explaining slowly. The 6 celestial amulets of legacy are the subordinate amulets that are used to open the 6 subordinate halls in the Temple of Confucius. However, to acquire the Great Codex of Spring and Autumn, one must enter the Prime Hall. And the key to the Prime Hall is the Prime Amulet. Prime Amulet? Zhang Xian's eyebrows shot up. That's right. Luo Ruoxin nodded. If the culprits are who I think they are, it's likely that they have a clue to finding this place too. After all, Kong Shi couldn't possibly have just left a single clue leading to the Prime Amulet. Furthermore, the one who possesses the Prime Amulet will be able to command the subordinate amulets too. Rather than wrestle the subordinate amulets from the experts of the Zhang clan, the Luo clan, and the Master Teacher Pavilion, it would be much easier for them to head here and obtain the Prime Amulet. That's true. Zhang Xian nodded contemplatively. If that was indeed true, with the capture of Zhaoye and the others, all they required was the Prime Amulet. Given so, all the two of them had to do was camp there and wait for the culprits to arrive. Just that, the matter concerning the Prime Amulet and subordinate amulets should be confidential. In fact, it was likely that even Yang Shi was unaware of it, or else the other party would have informed him of it. How did Luo Ruoxin know such details? Unable to take it any longer, Zhang Xian asked, Ruoxin, if you aren't from the Luo clan, who are you? Why do you know of so many secrets that even the Master Teacher Pavilion is unaware of? He reached out to grab the young lady's hand gently. Since we have decided to be together, I hope that you'll allow to help shoulder the burdens that you carry. Even though Luo Ruoxin had said that it was not inconvenient for her to reveal her true identity, Zhang Xian still could not help but worry, especially after the huge misunderstanding earlier. At the very least, if he knew Luo Ruoxin's identity in advance, he would be able to prepare himself to face whatever came in the future. Luo Ruoxin instinctively attempted to retract her hand upon being grabbed, but meeting the young man's earnest eyes, she eventually decided against it. Shaking her head helplessly, she said, "You will only be hurt if you learn of my identity right now. More importantly, it might foil the greater scheme of things, and that will only bring great trouble to you." "I'm sorry. I'm not afraid," Zhang Xian said resolutely. "I know you aren't afraid, but I am." Luo Ruoxin shook her head with a distressed frown. Even if he was unable to treat Luo Ruoxin's close relative, due to the limitations of his cultivation, he might at least be able to offer a plausible direction to work toward in order to treat him. It's not a problem of medicinal skills. Luo Ruoxin shook her head before directing a tender smile toward Zhang Xian. It's fine. You don't have to worry about these problems. If you really wish to be with me, you must raise your cultivation as quickly as possible. That would be the best way you can help me. Zhang Xian nodded as he squeezed the young lady's hand reassuringly. If Luo Ruoxin was unwilling to speak of her affairs to him, it was likely that she already had some other thoughts in mind. As long as her actions did not violate the principles that he embraced, he would give her all of his support. Luo Ruoxin had always been a cold and lofty person, emanating a distant aura that kept everyone at bay. Even Zhang Xian found himself unable to see through her thoughts and understand her. But in this moment, it felt like Luo Ruoxin had finally started opening up to him, viewing him as a person whom she could share her inner thoughts with. She was still keeping some secrets from him, but so what? He was certain that the day would come when she would be comfortable with opening up to him, so there was no need for him to rush into it immediately. For the time being, what he had to do was trust her and give her support. You are currently at St. Nindan primary stage. You should try to achieve a breakthrough to Great Sage as soon as possible, Luo Ruoxin said. Due to my special constitution, the cultivation techniques that I practice are completely different from yours, and I'm not in a good position to offer you any guidance. More importantly, if I share too much with you, not only will that bring trouble to you, it could potentially place a cap on your future growth. Wu Chen over here is quite knowledgeable, so feel free to raise any doubts with him. Having someone to trade insights with should help you in your cultivation. Zhang Xian nodded. After scaring the lightning tribulation away the day before in the Luo clan, his cultivation had already reached St. Nindan primary stage. While he could already walk unmatched among the younger generation on the continent, he still could not help but feel deeply pressured at this moment. Xiaoya, having awakened her purine body, was stronger than him. Zheng Yang, after becoming the progeny of combat and cultivated in the Hall of Spring of Autumn, was stronger than him. Wei Ruyan, Yuan Tao, Lu Chong, and even Wang Ying were all stronger than him. To be at the very back of the pack despite being their teacher had left him feeling deeply indignant and frustrated. The prowess displayed by his girlfriend was not helping either. Even her subordinate was able to easily stir up a storm in the Luo clan, and it was questionable if Yang Shi would be able to stop him. Without a doubt, Luo Ruoxin would be even stronger than her subordinate. As her boyfriend, the pressure that was on him could really drill him to the opposite end of the continent. If he could not raise his cultivation quickly, how embarrassing would it be if others said that he was a person who could only rely on his girlfriend? So as to not interrupt their conversation, Wu Chun had tactfully chosen to stand by the side, but upon hearing Luo Ruoxin calling for him, he quickly walked over. Macrocosm refers to the entire spatial world that we perceive formed by the three dimensions. St. Nindan Macrocosm Ascendancy Realm is intricately linked with one's comprehension of space. While you have reached St. Nindan primary stage so far, in order to reach the pinnacle of the realm, not only must you accumulate sufficient energy, more importantly, you must also deepen your comprehension of space. I have a few books containing my insights of spatial laws here, and they might be of some use to your cultivation, Wu Chun said as he passed a couple of books over. He might have appeared to be a 13 to 14-year-old boy in his adolescence on the surface, but when it came to cultivation, he swiftly assumed the air of an old expert, reminiscent of a grandmaster of the current era. Thanks. Having witnessed the adolescent boy's skillful manipulation of space, Zhang Xian knew that the books that the other party had offered him were bound to be extraordinary. He quickly picked up the books and browsed through them, and before long, he was nodding in approval. These books came nowhere close to matching the heavenly art of Dimension Unravel, but their contents were worth ruminating over. If he compiled those books with the heavenly art of Dimension Unravel, he should be able to resolve a handful of the flaws in the latter. Just as he was about to do so, he suddenly saw the adolescent boy looking over with a grim look on his face. These books are profound, so you must make sure to go through them very carefully. If there's anything that you don't understand, Make sure to clarify it with me as soon as possible. Don't get greedy and attempt to forcefully push your way ahead. As long as you study diligently, given your talent, it won't be impossible for you to reach Saint Nine Dan Pinnacle within a single month. A single month? Zhang Xian was taken aback. Indeed, the adolescent boy placed his hands behind his back and declared confidently, I know that it's inconceivable to achieve a breakthrough to Saint Nine Dan Pinnacle in such a short period of time. But with my deep understanding of space, I'm confident that you'll be able to achieve it with my strict guidance. No, that's not what I meant. What I am saying is that 1 month is too long. Zhang Xian scratched his head awkwardly. Too long? The adolescent boy was flabbergasted by what he had just heard. Indeed, it'll be hard to explain it with words, so just give me a moment, and I'll show you, Zhang Xian said before closing his eyes. Hong Long. In an instant, Zhang Xian drove his Jinqi to its limit, and soon, his cultivation began surging ahead. After leaving the main hall of the Luo clan, his parents had passed him a storage ring filled with the Saint Nine Dan cultivation technique manuals that Ren Qingyuan had entrusted to them. With a swift glance over those books, he had collected them into the Library of Heaven's Path and compiled them to form the Saint Nine Dan Heaven's Path Divine Art. While the adolescent boy's books on spatial laws were a great help, ultimately, they were only supporting material when it came to raising one's cultivation. In this world, there was nothing more suitable for raising one's cultivation than the Heaven's Path Divine Art. Back when he was still at the Zhang clan, Sword Saint Xing had given him a huge stockpile of cultivation resources. Even after raising his Jinqi cultivation, soul cultivation, and the cultivation of the Inferno Qilin and Netherworld Azure Dragon Beast, he still had more than half of the stockpile left. Since there was nothing to do at the moment, this was a good opportunity to push for a breakthrough. Go. His Jinqi raced furiously through his meridians before accumulating in his dantian, and in just a few moments, he had already broken through his previous bottleneck. Macrocosm Ascendancy Realm Primary Stage. Macrocosm Ascendancy Realm Intermediate Stage. This, the adolescent boy could not help but stagger backward with a pale face. How can he grow so quickly? The macrocosm ascendancy realm required a cultivator to enhance their understanding of spatial laws and accumulate sufficient energy simultaneously in order to achieve a breakthrough. It was just a moment ago that he had handed over his books, and the young man was already achieving breakthroughs, as if it was nothing at all. Furthermore, he was improving with an imposing momentum that showed no signs of slowing down at all, such that it almost seemed as if he was just releasing a seal on his cultivation. How could someone be so talented? Seeing how shocked Wu Chun was, Luo Ruoxin explained with a light chuckle. His condition is a little special, so it's no surprise that he can achieve breakthroughs so quickly. As a celestial master teacher, a person whose talent was recognized by even the heavens, it did not come as a surprise no matter how fast he grew. Special? But no matter how special his condition is, such an extent is inconceivable. The adolescent boy exclaimed in disbelief. Boom! Before the adolescent boy could even finish his words, Zhang Xian's cultivation had already come to a halt. He exhaled a mouthful of turbid gas, as his cultivation stabilized at Saint Nine Dan Pinnacle. Done! Zhang Xian clapped his hand in satisfaction before directing a smile at Wu Chen. How's that? It didn't take a month, right? The adolescent boy shook his head vehemently, almost as if he was expecting to see something different once he was done shaking. He had seen geniuses and experts from various races, and he had clashed with the top experts of the continent. It went without saying that he had confidence in his judgment and talent. But to advance one's cultivation so easily as if it was just walk in the park. He had never even heard of something like this before, let alone seen it. Even Kong Sherbak then did not seem to have improved so quickly. Was this still a humanly possible deed? You managed to achieve a breakthrough from the books I just gave you? The adolescent boy questioned. It was only after taking his books and flipping through them that the young man abruptly achieved breakthroughs to Saint Nine Dan Pinnacle. Could it be that his books had inspired the young man? Then again, he had written those books personally, and he knew their contents by heart. There should not have been anything in them that would allow one to advance one's cultivation so quickly. Oh, I had a look at those books, and while they do offer a fresh perspective, there are simply too many flaws with them. It would be problematic to cultivate them directly. Zhang Xian replied earnestly. Too many flaws? Problematic? Those words immediately riled the adolescent boy up. He was able to overcome the demon-subduing sphere of the Luo clan easily with a flick of his hand, and carry out a spatial leap to cover several million li in just a few moments. No matter how one looked at it, his comprehension of spatial laws was definitely on par with the heritage of the Luo clan, if not surpassing it. Yet, for what he had personally written to be described with too many flaws and problematic. And that disdainful look on the young man's face was not helping either. Disdain your head. May I know what kind of flaws there are in my books that made you find them problematic? Why don't you share them, so that I can learn from my mistakes? It took some effort for the adolescent boy to calm himself down and squeeze those words politely out of his mouth. If not for Luo Ruoxin watching by the side, he would have given that arrogant young fellow a good smack. I guess I could enlighten you since you are asking so politely. Zhang Xian nodded. You wrote in the book that the more stable a space is, the more unlikely it will collapse. Only in stable spaces should one find wormholes and conduct spatial leaps, or else the stress from the spatial leap could potentially cause the space to collapse inward, and that would be dangerous. That's indeed the case. The adolescent boy nodded. The stability in folded spaces is severely lacking. If one places it under too much stress, it will collapse on itself. Thus, abilities like spatial leap are only feasible on the master-teacher continent, where space is far more stable. Is there any mistake in that interpretation? Such an interpretation of space had been acknowledged by expert cultivators over the past tens of thousands of years. It was impossible for there to be a mistake with it. Yes, there is a huge mistake in that interpretation. You are assuming space to be stationary, Zhang Xian replied. Assuming space to be stationary? Are you implying that space flows like a river? The adolescent boy burst into laughter. You must be messing with me. If the space we live in is moving, how can we possibly be unaware of it? The world we are standing on is constantly moving. Are you able to feel its movements? Zhang Xian replied. The adolescent boy was taken aback. He had flown high enough to see the entire master-teacher continent before, and from afar, he could tell that the continent was in a state of constant rotation, giving it day and night. But when he was standing on the continent, its rotation was imperceptible to him. It's due to the movement of space that the locations of spatial wormholes are constantly changing. If one is able to grasp the movement of space and move alongside it, movement through the spatial wormhole will result in minimal instability to the surrounding space. And naturally, the space won't collapse either. Zhang Xian explained. In truth, this was not a theory that he had come up with, but something derived from Lu Chang's soul traverse. Through soul traverse, soul oracles were able to pull off short-distance teleportation discreetly, thus allowing them to conduct surprise attacks. If space was truly stationary, their abrupt movements would create a huge disturbance in space each and every time, making it impossible for their movements to be discrete. However, if they moved in harmony with the flow of space, the disturbance caused by their movements could be reduced to the minimum. The adolescent boy fell into deep thought. This was the first time that he had encountered a theory of moving space, so it was inevitable that he would be somewhat skeptical toward it. However, when he gave it further thought, he realized that it reconciled all of the spatial phenomena that contradicted the concept of flowing space. To put it in simpler words, it was indeed very likely for space to be flowing. This had really overthrown everything that he had thought in the past. There's one occupation in the world that boasts the greatest understanding of space. I have read all of the theories and speculations as to what the foundation of space truly is, and all of them are built on the idea of stationary space. This is the first time that I have heard something like this. The adolescent boy remarked in astonishment. The occupation you are referring to is Soul Oracle, right? They did not look too old on the surface, seemingly only in their early to middle 30s. Are they the otherworldly demons who have kidnapped Xiaoya and the others? Zhang Xian's eyebrows shot up. His previous analysis of the incident was that the culprits could only be the 100 schools of philosophers, or the otherworldly demonic tribe. Since Luo Ruoxin was not an otherworldly demon, it stood to reason that the group in front of him was from the otherworldly demonic tribe. Clenching his fists tightly, he took a deep breath as he readied himself to activate the blood droplet in his hand at any moment. He turned to the young lady beside him and asked, "Now, wait a moment first." Luo Ruoxin shook her head. "We aren't too familiar with the ancient domain, so it would be best to let them enter first before deciding our next move." "All right," Zhang Xian nodded. He had only learned about this place from the copper-masked figure's painting. As for the exact location of where the ancient domain was, what was hidden in the ancient domain, and what kind of dangers lay in it, he was completely oblivious. Since these otherworldly demons were intending to enter the ancient domain, he was more than happy to let them scout the way ahead for them. Even if they were discovered afterward, he could activate Kong Shi's blood droplet to deal with them. As long as none of them were ancient sages, he was confident that he could kill or even apprehend them all. Where is it? While they were lying in wait, the 4 new arrivals were carefully scanning the area, seemingly trying to determine the exact location of the folded space. "Give me a moment, I'll check on it." A frail-looking young man took a step forward, and with a tap on his finger, a book materialized and floated right in front of him, emanating a faint turquoise glow. "It looks quite similar to the book you have," Zhang Xian remarked to Luo Ruoxin. In terms of appearance, it could be said to be identical to the one that she had acquired from the Qiuwu Palace. It seemed like she was indeed right. There was more than one clue leading to the ancient domain. It seemed like it was not without reason that the otherworldly demonic tribe had been able to render mankind utterly helpless until Kong Shi appeared. They were indeed far more resourceful than he had thought. Not even the Master-Teacher Pavilion was aware of the distinction between the Master Amulet and the subordinate amulets, yet the otherworldly demonic tribe had already acquired the artifact required to track the Master Amulet down. Wang. The book gradually drifted ahead, slowly combing the entire area before abruptly jolting. With a light buzz, it came to a halt. "It's here," the frail-looking young man exclaimed. The young man who had issued the command before nodded as he quickly rushed over. This young man had a clean-looking face and the air of a scholar, which formed a stark contrast to the vicious appearance of the otherworldly demons that Zhang Xian had met before. If not for the fact that he had appeared there was no way that one would have been able to imagine that he was one of the culprits who had made a move against Xiaoya and the others. Previously, Zhang Xian had heard that the otherworldly demonic emperors were able to impersonate humans, such that even master teachers would have difficulties seeing through their disguise. From the looks of it now, that was indeed true. "Open!" The scholarly young man raised his hand and pumped a surge of tremendous power into the space in front of him. "Jiaya!" A deafening noise echoed in the air as a door made solely out of light materialized before their eyes. Incredible energy flowed within the door of light, making it impossible to discern where the door would lead one to. Instead of entering the ancient domain immediately, the scholarly young man turned around and instructed severely, "Everyone be careful. This ancient domain was left behind by ancient sage Ran Qiu, so we must maintain the utmost caution." The other 3 young men quickly nodded in response. "Ancient sage Ran Qiu?" Zhang Xian gasped in astonishment. The 72 direct disciples of Kong Shi were known as the 72 philosophers. Of them, the 10 strongest disciples were collectively known as the 10 apostles, and ancient sage Ran Qiu was one of the apostles. He was equal to ancient sage Bo Shang in terms of standing, and in terms of strength, he was reputed to be the strongest among the 10 apostles. Back during the war with the otherworldly demonic tribe, he had charged into armies of enemies with just a single spear in hand, killing innumerable otherworldly demonic emperors. In fact, he was the founder of the Combat Master Hall. If he was indeed the man behind the ancient domain, there was little doubt that the ancient domain would be fraught with dangerous trials. "Let's go!" After warning the others to keep their guard up, the scholarly young man walked into the door of light, and with a pulsation of energy, he disappeared from everyone's sight. The other 3 young men followed behind him, and they vanished in the blink of an eye as well. Let's head in too. Seeing that the 4 of them had entered the door of light, Zhang Xian was just about to step out of their concealment when Luo Ruoxin suddenly grabbed his arm and said, "Wait a moment first." Zhang Xian was taken aback for a moment before widening his eyes in realization. Have they noticed our presence? I don't think they are able to sense our presence, but I think it's better to be safe, Luo Ruoxin replied before falling silent. They waited on the spot for roughly half a tea's time, before the door of light suddenly wavered once more. The scholarly young man who had entered first earlier walked out, scanned the surroundings, and heaved a sigh of relief after finding nothing. After which, he entered the door of light once more. This time, the door of light did not last too long before dissipating. What a cautious bunch they are. To think that they would be hiding on the other side of the door, waiting to ambush anyone tailing them. If we had entered earlier, we would have been attacked. Zhang Xian was astonished. All along, he had been the one scheming against others. But who would have thought that his complacency would nearly get the better of him? If not for Luo Ruoxin stopping him, he might have fallen into their trap. It's very dangerous to be roaming dangerously in here. Just as Wu Chun was about to grab the young man back, he saw Luo Ruoxin following the young man's footsteps without saying a word. "Milady, it's dangerous," Wu Chun exclaimed anxiously. It was one thing for the weak Zhang Xian to not know better, but why would Luo Ruoxin be so rash as well? While Wu Chun was still panicking inside, Luo Ruoxin's voice drifted to his ears. "He has the Eye of Insight. It'll do to follow him." Eye of Insight? The ability that allows one to see through all facade? Wu Chun widened his eyes in astonishment. To possess the Eye of Insight and command such a deep understanding of space. Am I the expert, or is he the expert? Why does it feel like my feeling of superiority as an expert seemed to vanish before the young man? You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.